Okay, I am trying this. Once again, it's been a while since I've been on the channel. Let's see. What is the video capture device? Microphone. Looks like we're good. Man, it's been exhausting. Oh, let me get what I need a hat. That's what I need. I need a hat. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. Hey, what's going down, man? How's everybody doing? Let me open up a browser here so I can chat with everyone. Hello. Is that me or is that somebody? Oh, it might be my other account. I'm in the chat room here, guys. Sorry, it's a little awkward. I'm working on it. I've been so busy. Thank you. That's my favorite hat in the world. After my daughter was born, I asked my wife if I could get myself one last gift because I knew that like all my money was going to be going to my kid. And she allowed me to get an Adventure Built hat by John Penman, which I think he's doing the hats on the new Indiana Jones film. We're not really sure yet. He's been MIA, so I think it's that non-disclosure agreement he signed. He's not answering any questions whether or not he's been doing the hats for the movie, but anyway, that's that. So I have been swamped. I had a lot going on in my life, so I haven't had a chance to get to the channel. And my brother had a heart attack, and he's fine. He had to have surgery, but he's recovering. So that knocked out about 2 weeks where I didn't do anything on the channel at all because of the family stuff. And then my little daughter is going to preschool now. And then I started this new TV show that I've been working on for Amazon Studios as part of the crew. And we've been pulling, 70 plus hour work weeks. It's a show. It's going to be, I think it'll come out next year. It's called The Summer I Turned Pretty, and it'll be on Amazon Prime. And the show is, it's a teen adult, I guess, young adult novel. And it's been pretty well received. I think they've made 3 books based on this stuff. And anyway, so we've been working on that, and the thing is, we're starting to work nights, so it is 9:45 my time, but we don't go into work tomorrow till 6, and we'll work a 12, 13-hour shift, 14-hour shift. So that being said, we're going to be going all night. So I was like, okay, well, now is a perfect time to just kind of test out this chat and try to figure out the live stream stuff, because there is a learning curve for me. I have not had a chance to really mess with this software or anything like that, and so it's been like, oh, how do I get the window to pop up here so I know that this is here and that's there? And so far it looks like I'm talking to people, or I can respond to people in a chat, but it's not popping up in the window that I'm doing the capture on. So I can't figure that one out. Somebody, I don't know. Somebody will help me with this later. But is that the one? Nope. See, I'm totally screwing this up. Oh, any news on Ballistic? Well, it's all about money. We've been making the TV show in bits and pieces, and thank you, Aggressively Relaxing, for the compliment on the hat. It's been we're still moving forward. I'm talking with some investors to get us back up and running again, because ultimately what we're shooting is a spec pilot to present to networks, streaming services, and all that to see if we can get the show picked up. So we've shot 3 scenes, about 13 pages of a 54-page script, and we're going to continue to shoot the show in bits and pieces. But right now, we're just in fundraising mode. So that's just, and we're talking to people because we need people to bring big money. So we're talking to investors that can, drop, 10 grand here, 10 grand there. Somebody that, that won't miss the money. You know what I mean? Like you need investors that know they can dump money into a project, and if it doesn't go anywhere, that they're not a problem with that. Neil Blomkamp's #1 fan. Dude, let me tell you something. Is this a Q&A live stream? You know what? I'm just kind of working on the live stream. I haven't figured out all the ins and outs, but I'll answer questions if anyone has any questions. I can't figure out how to put the chat window up there. I'll get that on the next stream. But it is what it is. Yeah, Tony movie, Neil Blomkamp. I really was hoping he would do his RoboCop movie and his Alien sequel. So I was a little frustrated that all those things popped off as if they were going to happen, and then it didn't happen. It's breaking my heart because I know this guy's going to knock that out of the park if we can get him to do it. I think you'll do a great job making it. Yeah. You were talking about Ballistic. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen some of the scenes, well, you've seen one scene I think that I've put on my channel of the series, of the show, Ballistic, and it turned out really well. We've shot 2 other scenes, and I can't wait for people to see them. But I've got a sound designer in Los Angeles that I'm going to be sending the files to so he can sound design it. He did sound design the first scene, and it was amazing. And but again, it's a money issue. I'm just working, making some money, trying to put money aside so that I can pay this sound designer in Los Angeles to mix the other 2 scenes that we've got. But they look amazing. We shot on in 6K on the red Komodo, and it's a fantastic camera. Dude, his RoboCop movie would have been amazing. So disappointed he left the project. Dude, yes. Are you kidding me? And listen, the way they can do deep fakes now, like I worked on Under the Dome. That was on CBS. We did 3 seasons of Under the Dome. And on I think it was the last season, Peter Weller directs a lot of television. He did Sons of Anarchy and all this kind of stuff. So I got to hang out and talk with Peter Weller. And he looks just like he did then. He's a little older, but the thing is, if all you need's the face, you could have another actor literally do everything, and then they could shoot Peter Weller's face, and he could just do voiceover. And because once you put the mask on and all you see is the mouth, you don't need him to be there. Like, he doesn't have to be there because he's like in his 70s now, or he's got to be up there in his 70s. But he was so awesome to talk to. And so, yeah, but I'm like you. I was disappointed that the RoboCop thing didn't come to fruition, and his Alien movie, that he was going to bring back Michael Biehn, and he was going to bring back Sigourney Weaver and Newt, and kind of pretend like all the other movies didn't happen, which is kind of like what they've done with Halloween and Halloween Kills that's coming out, and then Halloween Ends. I think they're going to start shooting that in a few months here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where they shot the last one here. And I worked on Halloween, the 2018 Halloween. They shot it in Charleston. I did the reshoots with all the when the house burned at the end of the film. Can you tell me what your show is about? You mean Ballistic, the one that I'm trying to put together? It's a cop show. It's a cross between Lethal Weapon, a little bit of procedural like Special Victims Unit, The Wire. It's kind of an amalgam of those type of shows. So at any given time on television, there's always, 12 or 13 cop shows. People never get sick of them. They're great. And this is just another one of those iterations of a cop show with really good characters and things like that. So that's what the show is about. Thoughts on Neil Blomkamp's the District 9 film, Elysium, Chappie. Oh, dude, Chappie was great. Elysium, I love that one. District 9, they're doing. District 10 is what he's going to be doing next, I think. I'm excited, dude. I love everything that guy does. The guy's amazing. Like, why he hasn't catapulted to Steven Spielberg level type, backing from Hollywood, I'll never understand. I mean, his movies do well. Nate, Lazy Nate, guys, Lazy Nate TV. If you see him in the chat, we went to high school together, dude. He's got a channel where he'll eat, all this hot stuff. The one chip challenge also, dude, I've seen videos on his channel where snot is just dripping out of his nose and he's tearing up because he eats this hot shit. I can't do it, but I enjoy watching him do it. If you get a chance, go to Lazy Nate TV and check out his channel. If you like that kind of stuff, man. Alien 3 was disappointing because they destroyed everything that Aliens accomplished. The first Alien vs. Predator novel was really good. Alien 3, listen, I enjoyed the director's cut, if you will, of Alien 3. I actually enjoyed Alien 3. And, but because again, like if you were going to do a trilogy and cap it off, and never make another Alien film, which is, I think that was what they were going for, which is why Sigourney Weaver died at the end. It was good, but if you watch the special edition where they added, I think it's like the Criterion edition of Alien 3, where they added, instead of him coming out of a dog, the alien came out of an oxen that was pulling the ship, the rescue ship that landed in the water by the prison people. It was pulling it out of the water. And it got a queen face hugger on it because there's a behind the scenes photo, but they find this and they hold up this face hugger that was a queen. It had a queen like head plate on the top. And anyway, if you add in all the stuff that they took out, it's a better movie. And I think the Criterion edition they put in scenes that were unfinished. But they put them in there so you could see what it could have been. And I actually like Alien 3 if they would have kept what they did. But I'm a big fan of Michael Biehn, and I got to meet him at a con a few years ago, and he's fantastic. And I hate that they killed him. I hate that they killed Newt. They were trying to shake the tree and change the formula and make it kind of go back to Sigourney Weaver against an alien, stripped of all the good things that made her. But again, it's like everything they went through, it made like Aliens was all for nothing. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Alien 3 had so many studio problems. Absolutely. There were a lot of people putting their finger in the batter and claiming, we want this, we want that. And if you notice, Sigourney Weaver, she got paid huge amounts of money. I think it was $1 million to shave her head to do that film. And that was one of the first times that it ever happened. And when you look back, you can tell when they did reshoots, because when the queen facehugger comes out of her chest at the end and she goes backwards, you can see a seam line where they came back later and she was like, no, I'm not shaving my head for you to do the pickup scenes, that we didn't get the first time around, or we didn't like how it ended, so we had to do something different. And they put a bald cap on her, and you can see the difference, and that's always a frustrating thing. Neil Blomkamp would have been very interesting. Look, if you saw Neil Blomkamp's, he spent 2 years, I think it was 2 years, doing artwork with his art designers that work on his films. The artwork is out there on the internet. I mean, he put out a lot of it, and it's great looking stuff. And it's a shame that movie didn't go forward, and that they've decided to just let Ridley Scott make the 2 films that he did, which I thought they weren't necessary. The one thing that I get frustrated about is I didn't need to know where the spaceship came from with the space jockey that had the chest burster come out. He's sitting in the cockpit in the first movie. I don't need to know everything. Leave some things up to the imagination. Leave some mystery. But that's one of the problems I've seen lately with a lot of things, is they just over explain things to the point where it's ridiculous. That's why I haven't even watched, real quick, I just haven't watched The Bad Batch on Disney Plus, because I don't need to know everything that made everything as to why stormtroopers are because the Bad Batch, the clones malfunction over time or whatever, and some didn't have a chip in them, or like, it's, come on, I don't need to know all that. I don't need to know all that. And that's why I'm getting a little too saturated with everything that's coming out. They're just connecting the dots with everything. And let's see, Alien expanded the Predators. I did not mind the Alien vs. Predator movies at all. I thought they were fun. But I think the one thing you like, you like Prometheus. Okay. I don't know. I need the xenomorph. I can't do it without the xenomorph, like a real xenomorph. And then the Covenant didn't have enough alien in it. It showed up at that one scene at the end, and that was in the trailer where it's scratching on the glass trying to get in. And I'm like, dude, you gave the one scene the alien's in, and you put it in the trailer. So you gave it away. It's just because that's the only thing that pulls the audience in. They want to see the xenomorph. Damn it. Give us the xenomorph. Don't give us these knockoffs. Bad Batch is falling into the same story situation. Yeah. I love Prometheus and the Alien Covenant, but I respect your opinion. I'm glad that you like them. No, that's fine. I'm glad that you like them. And I thought, all right, who was the actor that was in both of them playing the android? Michael Fassbender. His performance was great. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Was he in the second one? See, and that's, all right. I know everything about Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and kind of Alien Resurrection. You start asking me about Alien Covenant and Prometheus, I'll get the movies mixed up. I don't understand what's going on. That's a problem. As an audience member, someone who's a diehard Alien fan, I was like, I didn't connect with it. You don't like the Bad Batch. I haven't started watching it yet because, again, if you're just jumping in here, I work 70 plus hours in the film industry, currently working on an Amazon Studios series. And unfortunately, I've got a 21-month-old baby, and every time I'm home from work, my attention goes to the child and to my wife. And that's why I'm doing this live stream to just kind of get caught up on the channel, because I haven't been able to do much. You'll always notice that when I'm in between a movie or a TV series, because the videos will be boom, boom, 2-3 times a week, just popping off all the current events and everything. As soon as I get on a show and 70, 80 hours a week is just sucked up, everything slows down on the channel, and that's just the way it is. The Bad Batch is so much fun. Really? I'll try to catch it. I will. I'll put it on my list. Michael's great in both films. Yeah, Michael Fassbender, back to the Alien thing. And then the first episode was fun of the Bad Batch. Okay, the problem with the Bad Batch is the cringe writing and filler. My book I wrote, Mandalorian Rising, is a complete opposite. You wrote a book, The Mandalorian Rising? Ooh, okay. Yeah, we got to talk about that. You got to give me some more information on that. All right. I feel like ever since Rogue One came out, which I think is the best Disney Star Wars film that they've made out of all of them, Rogue One, they literally took one paragraph out of the opening crawl of the 77 Star Wars film A New Hope, and they made an entire feature film about it. And yes, they explained a lot. I see, this is where the problem is. They took one paragraph and made an entire movie and gave such amazing backstory that now they're like, well, I guess this is what, because that movie did over $1 billion. They're like, I guess this is what they want. They want to learn everything. They want to learn how we connect every dot, everything. And then Clone Wars and Rebels and it's just, it's too much, man. I actually liked it when it was just like 3 movies. A decade would go by, you wouldn't hear anything. 3 movies, a decade would go by, you wouldn't hear anything. I mean, having all this. Now, again, I love The Mandalorian. I'm looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett. I don't want to get completely inundated with every dot and every T connected. I just, crossed, you know what I'm saying? It's free. It's like John Wick, but with Boba Fett. Oh, your story is like John Wick, but with Boba Fett. Okay, that's cool. We have you pitched it to Lucasfilm? You never know. Love Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One was awesome. All the way back to the Clone Wars, I think the Bad Batch animation is so ugly. Lucasfilm Arts to give such an ugly CGI animation cartoon. I agree. That's one of the things that has got that I have not been able to fully invest in Rebels or the Clone Wars or any of this stuff is because I agree with you, Danny. Oh, and Kitty Pryde, Danny. Okay, all right. I agree with you. The animation is weird. Everybody's got the square, sharp. But see, I think they did the animation that way because it's easier to animate. If you have to have rounded faces and everything moving, but if you have everything squared off and sharp, it's easier to animate. And I think they stylized it to make it easy. And that's what I think that they did. Danny has everything going with you, man. Danny just finished. If I got the right Danny, tell me I did. But Danny just finished. He's in the art department on. He just finished a movie for Hallmark. See, that's the thing. I got a lot of friends that all work in the film industry, which is great. So I'm excited for him. He's doing graphic design on motion picture and television shows now. So anytime you see a logo on a building, this guy knocking them out. Rebels is the worst. I would rather watch episode 9 than that. You know, it's funny. The other day I started to watch episode 9. I haven't seen it in a while, and I turned it off. I turned it off. Oh yeah, good. I'm glad you're doing good. Man, you should try to get on. There's another Netflix series shooting in my town called The Florida Man, and apparently their art department is having a lot of problems. They've got 120 sets that they have to do art designing on, set deck, all this kind of stuff, and they shoot in blocks. And you know, their art department coordinators quit the other day. I heard. I was on the studio lot, and yeah, it's a mess. There's basically 2 art departments going simultaneously. There's 3 graphics artists, all this other kind of stuff. One's working on one set of blocks. They shoot TV shows now in blocks. Okay, they'll shoot everything from one location. If it shows up in 10 episodes, they'll shoot it all at one time. And then, so there's constant wardrobe changes and everything. And they literally piece the episodes together later. And this is so that you don't have to do what they call company moves, which are very expensive, where you have to move all the equipment to another area. And the old school way of doing it is shooting the script as you go. But if you're going to do 10 episodes, you write the 10 episodes ahead of time. And then anytime the hero people are in one location, you just shoot every scene that's going to take place in that location for all 10 episodes. And it's a little bit of a nightmare, but it saves the production money, but it drives the crews crazy. So yeah, anyway, all right, what do we got? Thoughts on Neil Marshall as a director? Neil Marshall, give me a little bit more, because I don't oh snap, I'll make a call. Yeah, dude, I don't know if you jump on that show, but there's another Hallmark movie rolling in. Why don't you just go on that one? Yes. What If? Now that's the animation I expect from Marvel and Disney. Oh, I haven't watched the What If. Didn't the first episode with Captain Carter drop today? Was it today? I think you forgot my question. Yeah, what was the question? It was the director. I got to go back. Sorry, man. Neil Marshall, was that who? What is that person directed? Neil Marshall, because the name doesn't ring a bell. So yes, give me a little more detail on that. Cobra Kai season 4 is coming out in December. Yes, I have a friend of mine, Casey Kaiser, who works on Cobra Kai. I think he just finished the last season there, season 4. And but yeah, that's a fun show. I like Cobra Kai. Okay, so the first episode dropped today of Captain Carter. No, it was about Neil Marshall. Yeah, what was Neil Marshall? You're saying Neil Marshall as a director, Tony? What's he directed? Because I haven't. The name's not clicking in my head. Just watched What If? It's pretty good. All right, cool. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I love Disney Plus. I don't know about you guys, man, but and I was saying earlier, if you missed it, there's a great show on Disney Plus that's all about the attractions and how they make them and come up with them and the history behind them, and it's a really damn good show. So if you're going through Disney Plus, you should watch that show. It's really good. Danny, it's gorgeous. What If? Finally captured the 3D animation and toon shading style to perfection. Okay, that's good. No, I meant to say it wasn't about Neil Marshall. Okay, I'm getting lost on that one. I guess it's because I'm trying to read everybody's comments. Thoughts on Obi-Wan show with Hayden Christensen returning. Oh my God, are you kidding me? I cannot wait for this show. But I think they're going to use Hayden Christensen. And again, this is just me speculating. I think they're going to use him sparingly like they did with Rogue One. I think the main show will be about Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to evade Inquisitors. That's what I think. And any lightsaber battles and stuff like that will happen will be with Inquisitors. And I think there may be one battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, so that when A New Hope does roll around, it'll give more weight to the conversation he had with Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Death Star, where he said, we meet again at last. When I met you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, only a master of evil, Darth. I think you're going to go, okay, that makes sense. And then, when Darth Vader walked into the hangar in the Death Star where the Millennium Falcon was, and he's like, I sense something, a presence I've not felt. And then he just disappears and walks away. I think you're going to get a little bit more, again, connecting the dots, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, but it'll make those lines of dialogue make more sense, or have more weight to them with this. But I don't think we're going to get Hayden like we think. There may be some scenes where they have his helmet off. People are saying, oh, maybe they'll do flashbacks of when they were fighting in Rebels and things like that to some of the wars and things that went on. Could be. I still think it's all probably Vader, and we may see some scenes with his head off. Okay, hold on. Let me get back to this. I hope Book of Boba Fett's awesome. My book is set in an old Star Wars expanded universe. Yes. I think Book of Boba Fett will be awesome. I mean, just that entrance, that last scene where he kills Bib Fortuna. Yeah, man. I mean, come on. And now he's got Jabba's palace. That's so badass. I can't wait for that. My question was the thoughts on the writer Cameron Pascha. And I know he's been showing up a lot on Midnight's Edge channel, which I unsubscribed from a while back. Just too much woke nonsense. Cameron Pascha, again, I wish I knew who this person was. Maybe I should Google him and see if I have any thoughts on this person. Cameron Pascha. Okay. American Hollywood screenwriter, director, and novelist, Pakistani in origin. And what's he writing lately that everybody's going nuts over? Shadow of the Swordsman? I don't know. Darth Vader series. It goes back to, we were given in Rogue One, especially that end scene where Darth Vader just destroys the soldiers on the Tantive 4. Such an iconic scene. So what I would what I would rather have is them use Darth Vader sparingly and don't go all out Darth Vader. Like, because I feel like it's going to muddy up all the waters. And then, if they do a really badass lightsaber battle that makes the gravity of the scene where Luke confronts Vader for the first time on Bespin in The Empire Strikes Back, I don't want the weight of that lightsaber battle taken away by something that's cooler, if you will. Meaning, if they start making Vader do like in Star Wars Unleashed, the video game, and he's jumping from platform to platform, and he's, it looks like he's very flexible in the suit. If they start doing things like that, it's gonna chip away at the armor of the other movies, and they've just got to walk a very fine line when it comes to that. Did I watch the new Suicide Squad movie? Honestly, I didn't like the first one. I thought it was awful. And let's see, when it comes to the Suicide Squad, I didn't like Birds of Prey, but I went to the movie theater at the time and I paid for both of them. I paid ticket price because I like to go see things on the big screen. Haven't been during the pandemic much. But one of the things that I heard, spoiler alert, is they quickly kill off one of the characters in Suicide Squad from the original film. And it's kind of a shock. And there's a couple of people, I'm not a fan of Jai Courtney. And I've said this before in other things. Like, I don't think he's a very good actor. He's pretty. Yeah, he's got the muscles and all that other kind of stuff. But I don't think he's got a lot of acting chops behind the pretty facade. I just don't. I think his best movie was Jack Reacher, where he didn't say much. And he had really good presence. But the minute you give him lines, it's just awful. And I called Jai Courtney the franchise killer because he did Terminator Genesis, and he took over the role from Michael Biehn of, a new version of Kyle Reese. And I thought he was awful in that movie. Oh, my God. And then he played John McClane's son in A Good Day to Die Hard, or whatever that sixth Die Hard movie was, or fifth Die Hard movie was, and he just destroyed that film. It was so awful. That movie was so bad. And for me, he's a franchise killer. And so I didn't like him as Boomerang in the first Suicide Squad. Although he wasn't putting on an American accent, he was allowed to really be the Australian that he is, and he kind of did okay in that role. But it's like every time I look at him, I'm like, dude, you destroyed all these franchises. Like, he's like just like a bad omen. Like, you don't want to cast him in a big popular series that people love, because if I find out Jai Courtney's cast in the new Indiana Jones film, I'm gonna be so mad. But anyway, okay, I digress. Yeah, I like James Gunn. Breeze, I agree with you. I like James Gunn. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So I understand, he comes from doing movies. His background was trauma originally. He did a lot of trauma movies. And so I totally dig the old, Toxic Avenger type movies, all the stuff that Trauma put out. And so I know his twisted, you get certain people that come along in the film industry. Oh man, hi Sean. With improving deepfake and de-aging tech, do you think Indiana Jones films with Ford is possible to occur earlier in 1920? Oh, wow, early in the 1920s. First of all, thank you very much for popping off a 5 spot like that. I really appreciate that. The deepfake technology is getting better and better and better, and better than a lot of what ILM's been doing. And I think it's great that they hired Shamuk, the deepfake guy that redid the Skywalker thing. And if they wanted, what I would like to see is more adventures of Indiana Jones in the time frame of the 1940s and stuff. Harrison Ford. One of the problems I think happened with the Indiana Jones movies is they took too long to get more of them out. 12 years, 18 years between movies. Like, come on, guys. Like, that's, and they think, when you look at stuff like the Marvel films where they've done 23 movies, in a 10-year period, all interconnected, we could have had way more Indiana Jones movies. And I get that Harrison wanted to go off and do other things. I totally get that. But you've got to really, and again, I know it's hard to come up with a MacGuffin. That's one of the problems with all these movies is what are they going after? What's the relic? What's the thing? And, when you hear kind of the horrors of what some of the creators had pitched of all the different things, you're like, man, that would have been a really bad movie if they, and so, when they did kind of say no and no and no and no, with the deep fake technology, yes, I would love to see them go back and do more movies within the time frame of 1945, 1942. I don't, and Harrison Ford could do them, but I don't know, like I saw some behind the scenes photos of Indy 5 and man, he's got some really thin he's almost 80, 79, thin chicken legs. His legs don't look like Indiana Jones that we know. And one of the things that I'm afraid that could happen, this is going back to your deep fake question, is if they let Harrison play it and they put the deep fake technology on his face to de-age him. There's a scene in The Irishman with Robert De Niro. That was the Scorsese film that was on Netflix, and they did all the de-aging and stuff. There's a scene where Robert De Niro is supposed to be 40 years old, and he walks out of a barber shop, I think it is, or he beats the hell out of this guy in a barber shop, and the guy's on a sidewalk and he's kicking him, or it's a fruit stand or something like that, because I've only seen the movie one time. It was really long. That movie's long. You have to really invest time into that one. But he's beating him up and kicking him, but he looked like he was de-aged to look like he was in his 40s, but he looked like an 80-year-old man just kicking him. He didn't have what you would think a 40-year-old kick would be in the face or beating him down. It just looked like an old man. So you have to watch if they use the deep fake to de-age Harrison, that his body movements don't look like an old man, because then the illusion of the CGI will fail unless, going back to your question, they use a totally different actor and put the CGI on top. It's a whole can of worms right there. Like, I don't know. It's very interesting. I would, and thanks again, very much. Indy 5. Let's see. Sometimes things need to end. TV shows can be, seasonal rot. Simpsons, for example. Hans, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes things just need to end. Indy 5 has been shooting for a while already. However, recent Lucasfilm announced Antonio Banderas would be joining the cast. This has become fairly normal with movies these days. Any insight as to why? First of all, I love Antonio Banderas. I thought he was a little over the top in The Expendables. I actually have a couple of friends that just finished a movie with Antonio Banderas. I think they were shooting in Puerto Rico. And he's amazing and so nice. And I am so excited that he has been added to the cast. And again, because these Indiana Jones films jump from continent to continent and travel around, we don't know what his involvement is. Is he an old friend? Someone that, he can rely on for information or for safe passage. You remember Dan Aykroyd was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And, he had that small little cameo in it, where he secured the, the airplane for them to escape in the beginning of the film. And so, we don't know what capacity are they lead roles? Are they cameos? Is it, even Sala, John Rhys Davies in the original film, his part wasn't that big in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was expanded in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but for the most part, he really didn't have a big role in Raiders of the Lost Ark if you take all his screen time and kind of put it together. So we don't know, but I love Antonio Banderas, and I can't wait to see what he brings to Indiana Jones 5. Spielberg had the last scene in The Last Crusade specifically to be a period finale to the series. Yes. Riding off into the sunset was the best way to end the franchise. But maybe there could have been a few more movies in between The Last Crusade. Again, it's a matter of, like, they had to come up with a MacGuffin. They have to come up with something. And it just takes too long to write these films. I think that's one of the big problems. They're still announcing actors for Scorsese's new movie, which has been filming since May. Yeah, and Brandon Fraser is going to be in that movie. I'm loving his comeback. He's getting that's the thing with the film industry, and as someone who works in it all the time, as crew, but also, I do act from time to time in things. It's mostly like if I'm working 6 months on a TV show, I'll call my agent and I'll say, I don't want to read for anything because I'm already booked on a TV show or a film. And when the movie ends, I'll call my agent and say, yeah, okay, I can read for some things again, and I'll start reading. So I act basically as a choice, whether I want to or not. But I love it. It's my first love and passion. But it's really hard to make a living as an actor. If you look at everyone in the Screen Actors Guild, it's such a small percentage. There's literally thousands and thousands of actors in the Screen Actors Guild, but only like 3% make all the money, which are all the big names, Tom Cruise, blah, blah, blah. But, you got all these people, cashier number 1, ringing up the register. Well, you just made $921 for ringing at the register and saying, change, please, here's your change. Or, have a good day. You say 3 words in a movie, you make $900. Well, you can't live off that if you get one of those a year. Most Screen Actors Guild actors only book about 3 times a year. And that's just not enough money for people to survive. So I choose not to do that and to work on the crew because I can make a really good living as a crew member. Let me get back to some of this. Yes, and again, thank you very much. Appreciate your thoughts on the great show. What's your favorite TV show? Man, what's my favorite TV show? Lately I just haven't. I liked Loki. I wouldn't say it's my favorite TV show, but I liked Loki. I have not watched. What was the other one? Wanda Vision. I haven't seen that one yet. I was working on a show when Wanda Vision came out, and then all the spoilers kept coming out, and I couldn't avoid it on Twitter, and I couldn't avoid. I was, so I was like, I'll just wait. Let that series die down, and no one will be talking about it, and it'll get it all out of my head, and then I'll go back and watch them later and be surprised. That's kind of how I do that. When I was a kid, I loved Airwolf. That was the series. They only made 54 episodes. Alex Cord died yesterday, who played Archangel in Airwolf, but that was my favorite show as a kid. Airwolf and Knight Rider. I love that shit. That was I'm 40, I'll be 47 next April. So that gives you an idea of my time frame as to what movies that I liked. Thoughts on the new Shang-Chi movie? I think it looks all right, to be honest. I have not read the comic books of Shang-Chi or the Legend of the Ten Rings and all that kind of stuff. I know they hinted at it in the first Iron Man, and then they kind of let that whole thing fall to the wayside. Iron Man 3, the Mandarin was, fake and not the real Mandarin, and now we're going to get the real Mandarin, but then he doesn't get to fight his real arch enemy, which is Iron Man, because Iron Man's dead. So I don't know. I feel like, honestly, when it comes to all of the Marvel films going forward, that they already eclipsed with Avengers Endgame my interest. I was a big fan of Chris Evans as Captain America, big fan of RDJ as Iron Man. And now that they're gone, my interest, although I still like the Marvel films, it's like I don't feel like rushing out to see any of this stuff right now, as far as that goes. Let's see, Sean, what was your experience working on Journey to the Mysterious Island? You saw it on my IMDb. First of all, that was one of my favorite movies of all time to work on. I only have a few of those. I've worked on quite a few movies, but Journey to the Mysterious Island was great. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was awesome. Dwayne was great. I got to meet Michael Caine, and that was a highlight of my life. He signed one of my book. Hold on, real quick, because this is a live stream. I grabbed Michael Caine's book, which I've read, "The Elephant to Hollywood." He did a part 1 and a part 2 of this book, and he signed it for me. Best wishes, Michael Caine. And his real name is not Michael Caine, but and I can get into that later with the book. But anyway, we had a really bad flu breakout on that show. I got to tell you this story, guys. You're gonna love this. And I was working in the production office. That was quite a few years ago. I think it was 2010. So I was just an office production assistant on that movie, and I kept bugging the second AD, the second assistant director. I say, "Hey, can I meet Michael Caine? Can I meet?" And I never do that. I never get starstruck. Every time Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will walk by me, it was not a big deal. And I've only been starstruck twice. Once when I met George Lucas on a movie, and once meeting Michael Caine. Those are the 2 times I've ever been starstruck in this film industry, and I've worked on a ton of stuff. If you look at my IMDb, so Michael Caine was sick with the flu. He was running a fever, 102, but the whole crew and the movie ended up shutting down for several days because the flu just decimated the whole crew. Everybody was sick. Director was sick. It was Brad Payton. He was sick. Everybody was just crashing. And I go to meet Michael Caine. I go to his trailer, and I just came in. I said, I got your book. And he signed it. And, "Hey, how you doing?" He shook my hand, blah, blah. We chatted for just a few minutes, and the whole thing went by so quick that that's one of those things, like you're geared up, ready to meet somebody, and you got all these things in your head you want to say, and then when you get in there, it's like it's you can't get it all out, and it's just like this quick thing, and then it's over. And he signed the book and everything. But Michael Caine, I was sick with the flu within 24 hours, and so and it was rough. And so I can say Michael Caine wholeheartedly gave me the flu. But it was worth meeting him, worth going to his trailer, worth talking to him for that brief moment, having him sign the book. But he was so sick, and I wasn't sick, but everyone else was getting sick on the show too. But anyway, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was awesome on that one. And there was quite a few other stars on that film, but loved working on that movie. I think we had a $185 million budget on that film, and that was the most expensive movie I've ever been involved with. And I've been on a lot of stuff. Most of the movies, 40, 50 million, something like that. I'm trying to think of most of the TV shows that I work on, spend about 5 million and 3 to 5 million per episode. And so if we shoot 10 episodes, you do the math. But as far as like a big motion picture, that was huge. And so, yeah. Anyway, Journey to the Mysterious Island was great. Let's see. Every scene in the film, book, and TV that push it forward. I can't act. I can't sing. Court order. What? Dude. Come on, everybody can sing a little bit, even in the shower. Hey, I never got a chance to comment, but I like your content, man. Oh, dude, Retro Scotty, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I try to be fun with my content, and I try not to. Sometimes I fall down that rabbit hole of being a negative Nancy on a film project or something that I see. But one of the things that I realize is something that Chris Stuckman's kind of been evolving his channel to as well, is like when you work, I make a point, especially on my Terminator Dark Fate rant. If you haven't watched that, go back, find it. I dropped 113 F-bombs in that because I was so mad. Not about the wokeness or any of that kind of stuff. I was mad because I was so excited about it, and I felt completely let down as a fan because they killed off the young John Connor right in the beginning of the movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. And that just broke my heart because again, like it's kind of like the Alien 3 thing we talked about earlier. You invest so much into a character that you love, that you grew up with, and then all of a sudden they just kill him and kind of reboot things. And I was like, it was like I almost wanted to walk out of the theater when I saw that. But I digress. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, my content. So I try not to like Stuckman's changing his format a little bit to not be so negative because yeah, like when I'm working on a TV show, we got 250 crew members plus talent and everyone's putting their best work forward. Nobody goes into a movie or a TV show saying this is going to suck. They go into it trying to do the best job they can. The DP's trying to light it the best to make it look beautiful. The sound mixer and the sound guys on set, they're trying to do everything they can to get the best sound in the world. And every department has craftsmen, the makeup, the hair, wardrobe. Everyone's doing their best. And if the script is just bad in the end, or you miscast one role, and then everybody just, and so I try not to come down so hard on movies these days because again, like I work in the business and I'm not doing that, to have kid gloves or not upset people. Cause I'm sure if James Cameron saw my Terminator Dark Fate video, he would never hire me on a project. Dude, that guy would be so pissed. And same with, the director, because I just ripped that to shreds. But I have to respect that, like, a lot of heart and soul go into movies. It's kind of like Terminator Salvation. I thought that movie was beautiful. I thought that the motorcycle Terminators were so badass. I thought everything about the ideas but the movie wasn't executed right. They had script problems. And, I met Michael Lang, who was the art designer for Terminator Salvation, and he showed me all sorts of sketches and designs that weren't in the movie. Like the Moto Terminators were supposed to drive down the road and let go of the back wheel and the front wheel and stand up and start shooting guns and shit that like he showed that was designed that never made it into the movie. And I was like, oh dude, if the Moto Terminators would have like just, because if you look at the Moto Terminator, it looks like a crunched down endoskeleton holding on to two wheels, the wheels with the feet and the wheels of the back. And they were supposed to literally like unclutch, the axle on the front wheel, and the wheel was going to go, and then it stands up and gets the guns and starts shooting. There were some really great ideas for Terminator Salvation that didn't make it into the movie. And, but the behind the scenes people worked really, really hard to create something. And it just, when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But these people put their heart and soul in it. I can't come down on movies too hard when I know that like people like me that are working on these movies are putting their heart and soul in it. Anyway, I digress. What do we got? I got to take care of my puppies and kittens. Peace. Yes. And you're on the other side of the pond, so it's kind of late for you, I think. But thanks for stopping by. Danny, it wasn't as much fun as filming This Country. Oh my God, dude, This Country. That was, I don't even want to talk about that. It's a new show that's going to be on Hulu this year. We shot that. Danny worked on that. Danny and Kitty Pride, if you see them in the chat room, Danny worked on the show with me. It stars Sean William Scott, and it's a comedy. It's shot like The Office, like a documentary style thing. It'll air. But they renamed it. When we shot it, it was called This Country, but they renamed it, and it's going to be called Welcome to Thatch. It'll be on Fox probably in a month, like September. So look for it, because we spent 5 months making that show. I think 4 or 5 months making 14 episodes. They're half-hour shows, and that show was really hard on the whole crew. It was wet and it was cold for most of the show, even though it won't look like that on screen. We suffered. The 200 crew members, we all suffered. What do you think? All right, let's go back to Tony movie. What do you think about the whole backlash and the clickbait videos Master of the Universe revelation for someone that loves the show. I watched the first episode of Masters of the Universe Revelation, and unfortunately, for no other reason, I didn't connect to it. And I loved He-Man when I was a kid. Watched that cartoon, had Castle Grayskull, had the figures. I just didn't connect to it. I don't know why. I was not put off by anything that was done in that first episode. I didn't feel the need to go back and watch the rest of it. Let's see. Terminator Dark Fate was a disappointment, but I prefer it slightly over Genesis, mainly because Emilia Clarke and Jai Courtney weren't very good in the roles. Yeah, I agree 100%. If you jumped in here later on in the stream, you missed my rant on Jai Courtney, the franchise killer. Yeah, I think Terminator Dark Fate was better than Genesis, but I think the issue I had with Terminator Dark Fate, one of the issues I had was they showed the Terminator split apart, the bad Terminator. And for me, that could have been held for the actual screening of the movie for fans. Like, why give that away in the trailer when you see him split into two and jump? And I was like, you could have held that back. But for whatever reason, they were like, no, we got to show them. We got to show them because they're going to think this is cool and they're going to come to the box office and watch it. But less is more sometimes. People would have come out of the theater talking about that movie going, dude, I didn't see it coming when that Terminator split apart into two Terminators, a liquid one and an endoskeleton. That might have saved that movie if they'd have held that back. Same thing with Terminator Genesis. I'll just get into this real quick. In the trailers, they let everyone know John Connor was a Terminator. And I was like, that would have been something you should have held back for the audience to discover. Maybe they would have gone, oh, wow, he's a Terminator. Get out of here. Dude. But no, it's like in the trailer, John Connor's a Terminator and he's bad. And you're like, why give that away? Why give that away? I don't know. I don't know why they do that. I never had a problem with Terminator Salvation. Had a few problems, but I thought it was a solid sequel and a good launching pad to keep going with that. I wanted to see what happened next with John Connor. I wanted to see that was supposed to be the launch of a new trilogy. Then Terminator Genesis comes out, and that's supposed to be the launch of a new trilogy. Then Terminator Dark Fate comes out, and that's supposed to be the launch of a new trilogy. And every single one of them failed. Very sad. Very sad. John Deere, thanks for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Ha ha ha. Fox. Yep, that's right, Danny. We worked for Fox and Disney, Hulu. Yes, I've worked for Disney, but I'm not a Disney shill. I'm working for Amazon Prime or Amazon Studios now, but I'm not a Jeff Bezos shill. I have to clarify that. Believe it or not, James Cameron wasn't happy with how Dark Fate turned out because so much conflict between him and Tim Miller. You know what? I think Tim Miller probably should have made the movie he wanted to make, and James Cameron putting his finger in the mix was a problem. I don't think it was Tim Miller, because I love what's the cartoon? Death, Love and Robots. Dude, I loved all that. He executive produced that stuff. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but Love, Death, and Robots. And I like the original Deadpool. And I know that he wasn't invited back to do Deadpool 2, Tim Miller, because they say he is difficult. So you put James Cameron is notorious in Hollywood for being one of the most difficult people to work for because he's a psychotic perfectionist. And that's a good and a bad thing. And you put Tim Miller, who's just hard to work with, in a room with those guys. And I think Cameron had his thumb on Tim Miller's neck during the editing process and the writing process, and I don't think he had a chance to do what he wanted to do. What the hell ever happened to Sean William Scott? Well, you're about to see a new show called Welcome to Thatch. That's going to be on Fox this fall that I had the pleasure of working on. But I think the show is probably going to be pretty funny. And Sean William Scott, when we were filming that movie, I had just had my daughter. My wife had just had my daughter, and he had just had his child. And he's just become very, he was just all about being a dad and looking at photos of his kid. And I went through the same thing and I was talking to Sean and very briefly when he was getting into one of the production vans in between setups. And we were talking about just being dads together. And I think for him, he just needed to, to prioritize his life, and he became a very private person. He's very private. Sean William Scott, super great guy, and I applaud him. He really, I'm sure he really wanted Lethal Weapon to work out, which was the other thing on Fox. And see, that's where this relationship evolved with Fox. He did such a good job taking over that Lethal Weapon thing, although the ratings just fell so far. Once you kill Riggs off the show and you bring in someone else to replace Riggs, and it's not Riggs and Murtaugh, it's not Lethal Weapon. So you bring in Sean William Scott, and although he did a great job, Fox loved him, and they were looking for something else to put him in because they knew he's just really good. And so if you're a Sean William Scott fan and, you like a lot of his older films, I think you'll like This Is Thatch. His comedy is just right on point. Let's see, what do we got here? Blomkamp, #1 fan. Okay, director not happy with someone else's boring vision in an all-time classic series. Imagine my shock. John Deere, you're talking about Terminator? Yeah. But you see, the thing about James Cameron is when Terminator Genesis came out and they had recreated that scene where he goes back in time to fight his original Terminator that shows up, the T-800, James Cameron was like all about the marketing, going, this has connective tissue to the original stuff, and I couldn't be more proud of this movie, and blah, 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 blah. And it was awful. And I was like, dude, he's all in the marketing stuff. They go to him. They had my blessing to make Terminator Genesis. He gave them their blessing. Like, that was all. They pushed that. And the movie was terrible. So then I watched this thing that YouTube did. It was like a streaming thing, or I don't know, one of the Hollywood Reporter, one of Variety, one of those magazines did an interview, a Q&A with Tim Miller and James Cameron. And the way they were talking about Terminator, and then like Tim Miller started crying. I was like, dude, they're really going to do this one right. They're really going to do this one right. And all through the marketing stuff for Terminator Dark Fate, James Cameron just kept saying, this is the greatest, it's going to be the greatest thing in all. We've got Sarah Connor back, blah, blah, blah. And then the movie wasn't. And I was like, dude, what's the old age-old saying, fool me once, fool me twice, that kind of shit. Dude, James Cameron lied through his teeth through 2 marketing campaigns that these movies were going to be great. Go back and watch the video. It's all there. You can go back on YouTube watching James Cameron just, they're the greatest movies since sliced bread. And they were awful. Absolutely awful. Although ILM did a really good job with Linda Hamilton and, Arnold Schwarzenegger, CGI characters in the beginning that killed John Connor. That was some really cool tech. That was like breakthrough shit. Anyway, all right, what do we got? I'm disgusted as the 80s kid on the gross backlash of all the new MOTU. It was just fine. The original He-Man cartoon was 22-minute toy commercial. Go back and watch the 80s as an adult. It's unwatchable. Yeah, you know what? It's funny that you said that. Earlier I had said that I loved Knight Rider and Airwolf when I was a kid. They were my go-to shows. And when I watch Knight Rider now, I cringe. I'm like, how did I love? And then I realize I loved it because I was like 8, 9, 10 when it came out. How saying in 1984 was Airwolf. I was a kid, and so I didn't pick up on things like as an adult. You go back and you watch it, and you're like, damn, dude, Knight Rider's really hard to watch. That's just but also the editing pace was different. They cut things differently than what they do today. So yeah, let's see. Breeze, I see. All right, yeah, but I believe that Tim Miller's idea to kill off John Connor. It was Tim Miller's idea to kill off John Connor, and it was just a bad decision altogether. Just a bad decision. I mean, come on, the new Paramount just paid James Cameron to say that stuff. I think you're right. I think they probably paid him off. Because remember, he sold his rights to the Terminator franchise to Gail Ann Hurd, his ex-wife, for $1. $1. And he hasn't made a dime off that stuff since then. But I think the rights came back to him this past year. But I don't think he's going to do anything with it. I could be wrong about that. I see a lot of those clickbait videos too about Masters of the Universe by Geeks and Gamers, The Quartering Nerdrotic, so many others. It gets annoying. Yeah, you know, I didn't click on any of them. I think they're looking to rip things apart every time. It's like you put one drop of blood in the water and the piranhas just go nuts. The clickbait guys, that's what they do. Retro Scotty, Jai Courtney, Kyle Reese was ready to run to the Olympics. Agreed also that Genesis revealing John as the Terminator that killed the chances of succeeding. I agree 100%. It did. If they'd held back the John Connor thing, the movie would have been watchable. And also, the thing with, who's the actor that was Doctor Who that was in that? Matthew, I can't remember the guy's last name, the actor, but they made that such a big deal that he was going to be a big deal in the movie, and then like he was barely in the film. Like, yeah, you know, they talked about him being in one of the Star Wars movies too, Rise of Skywalker or one of them, and then he was, I think they even shot stuff with him and then they never used any of it. Matt Smith, is that the guy's name who was Doctor Who? Yeah, that didn't work out very well. But anyway, all right, viewers are dropping off. I'm down to 9. I had a high of 14, which was cool. And we've been doing this for about an hour. But yeah, man, guys, I'll try to do more of these when I get a chance. But I appreciate everybody that came in, asked questions, and did all that kind of stuff. I'm still learning how to do the streaming stuff. So hopefully, all right, what do we got? Hold on. Oh, it was Matt Smith. Absolutely. I think that's why eventually Brad Fidel, composer James Cameron Fields. Oh, I didn't realize that Brad. So yeah, okay. I didn't realize that the original composer left. I just thought they moved on. Sometimes they do that, you know. Well, that's the one thing that I did like about Terminator Salvation is Danny Elfman, who did the score for that one, actually used some of the beats from Brad Fidel's original soundtrack, which is something I think, you know, even Terminator 3 Rise of Machines did not use a lot of it. If you look on my yeah, all right, I'll take more questions. But if you look in some of my videos, I actually re-edited a scene from Terminator 3 and put out my version. So if you get a chance, Retro Scotty, check out the video where I did a re-edit on the Rise of the Machine Terminator entrance, but I used Brad's music instead of the music that they did, and cut it, and it has more weight to it as far as a scene. Let's see. Wait, I have one more question. All right, Tony, we'll get to you in a second. Breeze, any thoughts on the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime? I'm not going to invest a lot of energy, and yes, I'm working for Amazon right now, Amazon Studios. I probably won't invest energy into the Lord of the Rings series. I think they've covered it with New Line, with the 3 original Lord of the Rings, and then the Hobbit movies. I can't imagine them doing a better job than what has already come before. That's my honest opinion. But I know they've got hundreds of workers working on it. I'm sure the costumes are going to be great. The sets are going to be great. Everything's great. But I just feel like it's like beating a dead horse. Let's see. Retro Scotty message retract. All right, well, drop another one if you got another one. Do you think all the directors should have creative freedom control on their project, or do you think there's oversight? That's interesting. I think that you have to give directors some creative latitude, but, and here's my example, and I'm either going to get crucified for this or not. Kathleen Kennedy. I've made several videos where I feel that she's been maligned, if you will. When they first started doing all the new Star Wars films, they wanted new hot directors instead of going and getting a Spielberg or getting some seasoned director like Joe Dante, who would have been amazing, directing one of the new Star Wars films. They decided to get hot new directors, and they got Gareth Edwards, who just came off doing that first Godzilla film that did $500 million worldwide. So they're like, and his other movie was a found footage kind of shaky cam, creature movie. And they were like, oh, we're going to get him. So they give him Rogue One. And then they get the other two guys that did Into the Spider-Verse to do Solo. Hey, we're going to give these guys this because they just came off the Spider-Man thing, and this is going to be great. We'll give these guys this. And then they realized they started having problems. A lot of Gareth Edwards' movie was shaky, handheld shakiness. And when they started seeing the rushes, the dailies, and they kind of, Kathleen Kennedy had to be like, we really want all the movies to kind of look the same. Rogue One would have been like a Saving Private Ryan shaky cam movie. And you see a lot of that in the original trailer for Rogue One. And some of the scenes in the original trailer never even made it into the movie because they kind of reshot the ending. They added the Darth Vader scene. Tony Gilroy came in and rewrote and directed the second unit stuff that Gareth Edwards didn't have a hand in. And in the end, the movie turned out solid. And Tony Gilroy didn't take any credit for directing the reshoots and the writing of the script. And but no one gave Kathleen Kennedy credit for kind of, seeing that it was going off the rails and we needed a course correction. And then what was happening with Solo, a Star Wars movie, Alden Ehrenreich, after a couple of weeks of filming, was complaining that they were making him too comical, Han Solo's character, and he felt like Ace Ventura, pet detective in a lot of the scenes. And so he was complaining right to Kathleen Kennedy. And then you had Larry Kasdan, who wrote Solo, a Star Wars story, who wrote Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And you had him saying, hey, I'm sitting here and they're improvising lines. They're not reading my script. They're improvising lines. Because like the two directors on Solo they'd shoot Larry's script lines, and then they would say, let's do another take and just do something different. And you can't do that with a Star Wars film. And you can't do that to Larry Kasdan. Larry Kasdan, who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, who's, won Oscars and all that. You can't do that. And so Kathleen Kennedy had to go, you know what? This isn't working. So they bring in a seasoned director like Ron Howard to kind of do cleanup work and wind up reshooting the whole movie because a lot of the stuff wasn't usable. But I think it also had to do with like the DGA, the Directors Guild. If a director doesn't shoot 75% of a movie, then he can't get the full credit for it. So if they were using a lot of footage from the two guys from the Spider-Man and in the Spider-Verse movie, and it wind up being less Ron Howard directing less than 70% of the movie, Ron Howard couldn't have gotten the director's credit on it. So they wind up spending double the budget, ridiculous $700 million doing reshoots and basically reshooting the whole movie. And Solo, in retrospect, its release date was bad because it was too close after the other movie. But if they'd have waited till Christmas and released it, that movie probably would have turned out all right. And the movie was pretty decent. I think a lot of people like Solo, a Star Wars story, for the most part. And again, Kathleen Kennedy doesn't get the credit for fixing the problems. A lot of people will say, I got a friend of mine, he says, well, they should have not had those problems in the first place if Kathleen Kennedy was doing her job. But as a producer, you got to remember, a $300 million movie has about 600 crew members, and you're a manager of 600 crew members, and you're trying to let the creatives do their job, trying to let the director do their job, trying to balance personalities, and trying to also keep a cohesion between all the stories and everything. And now that everything is interlooping, and I think she did a good job as a producer, and she's done a great job as a lot of producers. But that's where you don't give directors, going back to the actual question, there are situations where you give directors latitude, and then there's situations where you have to drop the hammer down. I talked to a producer on one of the movies that I worked on, and I said, how did this director get this job? I asked a blunt question to a producer. How did the director get this job? I'd never even heard of this director before. And the producer said to me, well, sometimes we take a risk on an unknown director. And if the movie fails, we as producers can tell the studios, well, we took a risk and it didn't work out and it failed. But we still look good because we can blame the director for the failure. But if the movie's a hit, then we can take credit for finding the director, the diamond in the rough. So in hindsight, producers sometimes will play both sides, where if it works out, great for us. If it doesn't work out, great for us. We don't lose our jobs, and Hollywood will give us something else to produce. But yeah, I mean, you got to fix that. I mean, like, sometimes you got to put the hammer down on directors. Sometimes you give them latitude, and those are my feelings. It really depends on, like, if there's a show going on in town right now that's filming, and I heard horror stories of a director pissed off and yelling at everyone in the production office because he wasn't getting his breakfast on time. That's a guy you tell to go fuck off, which several of the crew members did and quit the show. Yeah, there's bad directors out there. Sometimes they have to be put in their place. Where are we at? Speaking of Rise of the Machines, I met somebody that worked on the movie as an assistant. He mentioned that the car chase being longer than the movies he worked on as the lead of Bad Angel. Oh, well, I mean, dude, I believe that altogether. I mean, dude, the cutting room floor of footage on some of these movies are ridiculous. Sony Pictures has a great website where you can buy stock footage, second unit footage of explosions and car chases and things that they shot that never made it into movies, that you, like stunt action sequences for feature films, that you can actually purchase. It's thousands of dollars, and then you could put it in your movie. If you have a car that needs to explode, you can go through their archives and find one that they might have put in a movie, but it didn't work out, so it was on the cutting room floor. So yeah, dude, there's always so much footage when they shoot things like that. Thoughts on the Black Widow movie? Breeze, I watched the Black Widow movie. I liked it. I thought it was good. It felt like a phase 1 movie. Like, that should have come out a long time ago. It did, I wanted that movie to really land with a lot of impact, but after like tearing up in the movie theater when her character died in Endgame, like, that was where my emotions were invested. When I watched this movie, knowing it was a prequel, knowing she dies later, it's like knowing the ending of her story kind of, the movie didn't have the gravity that it should have had if it had come out prior to her death, the character. Sean, do you do more of these and invite me so I can look at that sweet Bruce Maquette in the background? Yeah. Danny, I know I need to have you over the house, man. I got to figure out how to do multiple camera stuff here in this room. Let's see, Sean, believe it or not, I have a cousin that works an independent film producer. Believe it or not, his biggest film, Sorry to Bother You, in 2018. He's a cousin? Sorry to Bother You, 2018. Hold on. Let me see who your cousin is. Sorry to Bother You. Oh, I saw the preview for this and I never watched that movie. All right, so who's your cousin? And tell me who your cousin is. Do you think Colin Trevorrow's script for episode 9 would have been awesome with him directing it? I didn't read the script, but I've seen a lot of the artwork that leaked out. And I'll be honest with you, seeing Rey with a double lightsaber would have been so badass. I really wish that would have been, something that came to light. I don't know how they could have fixed. And that's the thing with Colin. Colin had knocked the Jurassic Park stuff out of the water, out of the park, pun intended. And he loved Star Wars, and his biggest gripe was that they were killing off Luke in The Last Jedi, and he wanted Luke to be in his movie. So prior to his script coming out, which had him as a ghost, Luke as a ghost, like, messing with Kylo Ren the whole time and showing up and, and messing with him, almost like the movie Ghost, where you have the one in the background always talking to you while it would drive you crazy because no one else could see the ghost but you. I think that, it's a shame that Luke was killed, because if Luke wasn't killed and they could have utilized him in the last film, it would have changed everything. But, knowing, that Carrie Fisher passed away prior to the release of The Last Jedi, it would have been a simple tweak to just have Luke Skywalker on that rock meditating and having boulders float up. And then you could have had him in the next film training Rey and doing everything still alive, and have him in the mix. The way they handled that, knowing Carrie Fisher passed away, knowing they could have done one small tweak to save everything. Because although I loved what they did honoring Carrie Fisher by using her as CGI, and from other takes that were on the cutting room floor and putting her in the movie, and how they made that all work in a story was amazing. But I felt like they should not have killed off Luke Skywalker. I'll always say that. Black Widow should have come out before Endgame for sure. Yeah, absolutely. My cousin was Jonathan Duffy. What is Jonathan Duffy? What's he do? What does Jonathan Duffy do? Where's the IMDb on that? Jonathan Duffy. Jonathan Duffy II. He's an award-winning creative producer, Independent Spirit Award winner. Oh, dude, that's awesome. A recipient of the 2019 Film Independent Camera Grant as well. Executive producer, holy shit. Dude, he's done a lot of work. You never know if I've worked on something with somebody. So I always kind of look. This was executive producer. Dude, this is great, man. Good to know, man. Why aren't you working with him? Why aren't you working with him? You just start working for him. Dude, working on movies and television shows is amazing and so much fun. Every Star Wars film should have a time jump. That's where Rian Johnson messed up. Dude, crisp. Yeah. If I'm reading that right, yeah. I agree 100%. We needed a time jump. Every one of them had a time jump. There was space in between Empire Strikes Back. There was space between Return of the Jedi. There was, and yeah, it just literally picked up right where the last one left off. And, they started bombing the base, and yeah. And all we got was a slow-moving car chase in space. That's literally what we got. A slow-moving car chase in space. It's awful. Hey, dude, awesome hat. Thank you. Adventure Built. Like I said before, John Penman. This hat was built, handmade for me. It cost almost $600 with shipping. It's an exact replica made with the same materials of the hat from Crystal Skull, but I had them bash it and shape it like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I believe John Penman is secretly been making all the hats for the new Indiana Jones film, ND5, and I'm still waiting to get confirmation from him. I sent him a text. He won't reply to me because he signed an NDA And I think when the dust settles, we'll find out that he made all the hats, and he made this one. Let's see, where are we at? Yes, Tony movie, Chappie, District 9. You are absolutely right. The Josh Trank situation, they were going to hire him to do the Boba Fett movie, which then turned into The Mandalorian, with a caveat. I mean, it was a whole new take on it, but they were ready to greenlight the Boba Fett movie with Josh Trank. I have friends that worked on Fantastic Four, and Josh Trank had a lot of problems. And my friends who were working on that movie said when the executives came in to do the reshoots, in Josh Trank's contract, he had to be on set, and they made him literally like a kid sit in a corner in a chair while they directed and shot and finished his movie with reshoots. He apparently had a lot of parties going on at his house. When they shot it in New Orleans, Louisiana, when they go into an area to film, and they get on the ground, they have a housing coordinator that gets all these houses for all the stars and the celebrities and everybody to stay. And apparently the house that Josh Trank was renting belonged to somebody pretty important, and it was a historic house, a very historic house that had very beautiful carpet in it. And Josh Trank brought his dogs, and apparently, when you leave for 12 and 14 hours on a set and nobody walks your dogs, I think it was almost like not a governor's mansion, but the mayor's mansion, something like that. It was something like that. It was a very high-end house for somebody who was really important. A local politician rented the house to Josh Trank, and their dogs trashed it. They shit and pissed everywhere. It was so bad. There were rumors of, I'm going to say rumors. I don't want to get people in trouble, but a lot of partying going on at the house with a lot of young girls. And he was a fucking mess the whole movie. And Kathleen Kennedy backed the fuck out of that before it happened. But again, he was a hot director. He had shot that movie, which was like Gareth Edwards, a handheld film, Jump or whatever. I don't know what was the name of the movie. Tony, come on, jump in here. The movie that made Josh Trank famous. It was somebody was like had superpowers or something, but it was shaky cam shit. But his movie was hot out of the gate. And so here's the keys to the Boba Fett movie, because we want young, great directors to kind of take this, a whole new generation of Star Wars fans, take them, do your own thing with it. And then fuck that. When all the news came down and the crap with all the people from Fox having to go there and fix his movie and make him sit in a corner with a dunce hat on. Yeah. It did not bode well for him. And of course, they didn't even offer him. The rumor mill was going around. He had Boba Fett, and they pulled that rug out from underneath him. Chronicle. Yes, guys, absolutely. Chronicle was the name of the film. Thank you very much for reminding me. But yeah, that was it. And that was Josh Trank. And what's Josh Trank done since? I know he's still working. I know he's still doing movies, but he's not doing big blockbuster movies. I don't like bad-mouthing too many people in Hollywood because, let's see, what's he doing? Ooh, since Fantastic Four, he wrote a movie called Capone, and he's writing a movie called Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. So he's doing a lot of, wow. So he hasn't done anything. That's amazing. That's amazing. You're doing Fantastic Four. You did Chronicle. You did, and literally, you all he did prior to that was directed a couple of TV episodes, 5 TV episodes, and a short film, and then he gets Chronicle and Fantastic Four, and then He could have been working with Lucasfilm, but he didn't have his shit together. That's what happens in Hollywood when you get handed a big movie like Fantastic Four and you think your shit doesn't stink and you're coming out of the gate hot. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. And dogs shitting on carpets. It's bad. He directed Capone, which was okay. Thoughts on Joss Whedon? I heard he's hard to deal with too. Well, you know, everyone's been saying he's been hard to deal with, and I think the Me Too movement has come out against him and all that other kind of stuff. You know, it is what it is, man. I mean, like, you're gonna get people. I almost, in some respects, I feel like, you know, Joss Whedon was in the Marvel universe for a while there. You know, directed Avengers, all that other kind of stuff. That movie did $2 billion the box, or $1 billion the box office. One of the bigger breakout ones, you know, when all the Avengers came together and the camaraderie between all the dialogue. It was, I mean, Joss Whedon had his thumbprint on the whole thing. I almost feel like he was sent over to DC to destroy them. And, you know, when everything kind of started falling apart with, you know, Justice League, and he came in to do all the reshoots, I almost feel like he was sabotaging DC to let Marvel reign supreme. I mean, I know that's really reaching, but I feel like that might have been the case. Just come in and destroy it all, destroy everything they've been working at, and make them keep rebooting things and fixing things. And I mean, they're still, Warner Brothers is still struggling to find their footing with all the DC stuff. My cousin worked on a lot of stuff, even showed me the original concept work for Sorry to Bother You. Dude, that's great, man. I need to go watch Sorry to Bother You. I saw the trailer and I thought the trailer was funny, and I haven't had a chance to watch that movie yet, but I'm going to put that on my list, especially Retro Scotty, because that's your cousin. I'm definitely going to do that. Immaturity kills. Perhaps he'll be back. One more is mature. Yeah, I mean, Hollywood's all about second chances. I mean, look, Roman Polanski still makes movies, and he was like raping kids or raping that young girl at 13 in a hot tub, and Roman Polanski still makes movies. I mean, there are people out there that are just crap, and they still make movies. So yeah, I think as he grows up, Josh Trank might get a second shot at Hollywood, but he's got to come up with something. You know, he had that ace in the hole. My cousin lives in San Francisco, California, I think. I live close to Austin, Texas. Oh, dude, you guys are far away from each other. Austin, Texas. But yeah, man, I think Josh will get a second shot, and hopefully he will. You know, I think he was on to something when it came to Fantastic Four, but it just didn't work. You know, Doom didn't look terrible. And then Thing, you know, I don't know, man. It is what it is. Because, I mean, obviously they're going to reboot it. Marvel's now got it. The Fantastic Four is now in their wheelhouse, and they're going to reintroduce all the characters, and, you know, we're all going to love it. So yeah, that's that. Justice League. Yeah. That was tough, man. And you know, I am so frustrated. One director in whose film I refuse to really own or watch is Victor Salva. Oh. Oh, he did Powder? Is that the Victor Salva you're talking about? Jeepers Creepers, you know, writes about, yeah. Well, he hasn't done shit in a long time. I mean, 2017. Is that who you're talking about? Are you a big Quentin Tarantino fan? Let me tell you something. Yes and no. I did not like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, I thought that was painful to watch. Loved Reservoir Dogs. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, until I just watched a video on YouTube that said he completely ripped off an Asian film, like almost shot for shot, dialogue for dialogue. Like, he basically remade this movie and called it Reservoir Dogs, but it's almost shot for shot, and it's the same story and everything, but he didn't give credit that, you know, and I watched this YouTube video, my mind was blown, and now I'll never watch Reservoir Dogs again and feel like that was earned. I'm you know, the thing about Quentin Tarantino is, you know, you got movies like Django Unchained. I think his best work was Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction was his best movie. Now, he also wrote True Romance, which is one of my favorite movies going back in time. He wrote True Romance, and he sold that in order to make Reservoir Dogs. Like, he took the money from that sale and like it helped him make Reservoir Dogs. I think that's the story that's been told, the Hollywood story. And so you can tell True Romance has Quentin Tarantino's fingerprint all over it because he wrote that script. But then there have been movies I didn't like. What was the one with the Nazis, the Inglourious Bastards? I didn't like it. And I don't understand the revisionist history, you know, with killing Hitler in the theater, the movie theater, or all the kind of stuff that went, like, I get that it's like a fictitious story, but it wasn't like a fictitious story like Saving Private Ryan is a fictitious story, but kind of based on true events. This is just like, and the same thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Why I couldn't connect with it was because what it did and the twisted way it handled the what if, kind of like what Marvel's doing. Sharon Tate didn't get killed, and it was the neighbors. And I just thought to myself, how did the relatives of Sharon Tate, who was murdered, feel what if he had killed the neighbors and Sharon had survived? And it's weird. And that the Manson people were killed and the one girl killed in the pool. And it's just a weird, and I get that it's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because it's like a telling of a story, you know, that it's a fairy tale. I just re-envision this history. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I never watched the what was that show? The Nazi show, or the Man in the High Tower or something, where the Nazis won World War II, and like, you know, it's like, why? HBO was supposed to do a series that the Game of Thrones guys had pitched them after Game of Thrones, where it was if the South had won the Civil War and slavery was still in place all these years later, and how it would look. And I'm like, who the fuck wants to watch that shit? Re-envisionist history. Like, why do we want to watch a show showing what slavery would look like now in this country if it didn't like, I don't get it. And it's a turnoff for me. So Quentin Tarantino, I can give and take his movies. Honestly, I either like it or I don't like it, and for the most part, I don't like it. And even as the Hateful Eight was kind of a ripoff of John Carpenter's The Thing, and he even used, you know, the lead actor in that. What's his name? Oh God, it just blew my mind. I just blanked on it. I see his face, but I can't. Famous actor. Oh my God, it's killing me. Come on, in the chat, talk to me. Hateful Eight. Let's see. He was in John Carpenter's The Thing. Yeah, Kurt Russell. Oh my God, I can't believe I flaked on Kurt Russell. I love Kurt Russell, by the way. But Kurt Russell, it was almost like a remake of The Thing. You know, all these people in a room and you don't trust who they are, and they're out in the snow and they're all in a cabin. It's kind of like The Thing out in the snow, and you don't know if, you know, who's telling the truth, and all the people start getting taken out. Just like in The Thing, it was almost like he was paying homage to The Thing, but like ripping off The Thing at the same time. There was no creature in it, but it was the same premise. Do you trust the Kurt Russell character? Same thing. Was he possessed or not? You know, you didn't know if he was possessed or taken over by the alien, you know, in The Thing. And so, yeah, I mean, unoriginal shit, man. All right, let's go. There's Victor Salva. Let's see. He often clashed with Miles Teller on set of Fantastic Four. Yeah, I believe that. Miles Teller is a serious actor, and you're going to give him a novice director to like direct Miles Teller? I could see him clashing. Hell yeah. This guy came from doing a movie with a handheld, fucking video camera, and got lucky out of the gate. And Miles Teller's been acting for years, and you're going to try to direct this guy? It probably didn't work. Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. Victor Salva is a terrible person. I don't know much about Victor Salva, and I didn't see any of the Jeepers Creepers guys. I think when those movies came out, it was a certain period in my life where I got away from horror films. Like when I was a kid, all I could ever do was Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. Those were my guys, and I worked on Halloween in the 2018 film with David Gordon Green directed him. Danny McBride, wrote the script. I worked on the reshoots on that one. So like, talk about having a dream come true. I was a huge horror fan when I was a kid, and then get to work on Halloween. That's just totally badass. But the thing about it is, as I got older, I got away from the genre. It's just, I've seen everything, every kind of slasher, killer thing, creature thing. It's just none of it appeals to me anymore, really, as a person. When I was a kid, I loved Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, zombies. I loved it. Now I can't even get into it. So I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I agree. Flash, what's up? What's up, Flash? Tarantino, yeah, is a mixed bag. His films are good, but they're highly overrated. Yeah, I agree with that. There's a film called Cracker that re-envisions slavery, but it's the white people who are in slaves. Haven't seen it though. Should know. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't interest me. That kind of stuff. Halloween 2018 was fantastic. Can't wait for the sequel in a few months. Yeah, all my friends worked on Halloween Kills, and had a great time. I got to work on when Halloween Kills was shooting, I was on This Country, I believe, because it was shooting in town, and I was on the Fox Hulu series, so I didn't get a chance to work on it, but I did work on the 2018. And what I worked on, I'll tell you, when they did a test screening of the movie, the ending with the house being on fire, that wasn't in the original ending. It was a battle between Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis in the woods, slashing at each other with knives and stuff. And some of that can be seen in the trailer, the original trailer that came out. You see footage that was never in the movie. And they felt in the test screenings it just didn't have enough gravity to the situation. And the way to do it is to have the final battle in the hallways of the house and in the basement, and the house catches on fire. So we went back out to the house to do the reshoots, and the construction and the stunt guys, they worked, and the pyro guys worked, setting up all the flames, that everything could be turned on and off with propane. They just turn the gas up so everything could be on fire, and then they'd turn it all off, and they could reset the cameras and all that kind of stuff. And so I was there for all of that, the burn stuff. And that was great. You're like, holy shit, it's a fucking Michael Myers movie. It's great. Do you like the Mission Impossible movies? I've enjoyed every single Mission Impossible movie they've made. Absolutely. I felt they got better and better. The one with John Woo was a little, with the Tom Cruise, everything's slow motion, the motorcycle. That's a style John Woo has that, you either love it or hate it. But everything, all these movies, they just get better and better and better. And all the stunts that Tom Cruise does. Look, people go, oh, Scientology, he's crazy. I don't care. Like, I can separate that from the set of King Kong balls that Tom Cruise has to strap on himself to like a C-130 aircraft going 300 miles an hour in the air, that he has to put these contact lenses in that cover his entire eyeball because the wind is so strong it's blowing the fluid out of your eyes that dry your eyes out. Like, come on, dude. And that shit in Dubai, scaling that and jumping on the highest like building on the planet. Are you And then he learned how to fly helicopters in the last one. Now he had already been a pilot with fixed wing. Fixed wing is the definition of a regular aircraft. And then and it's really hard. I'm going to tell you this right now because my uncle flew the Apache helicopter for 25 years in the military. It's really hard. It's easy to learn on a helicopter first and then transition to a fixed wing plane. It's really hard to rewire yourself from a fixed plane to a helicopter. And the fact that Tom Cruise learned to fly that helicopter after it had already been trained as a regular pilot for years is an accomplishment in itself. And the stunts that he did in that shit, oh my God, dude. Every time there's a new movie, I just can't wait. I have a friend of mine, Lauren, she was a location scout. She over in the UK, and when he broke his ankle jumping from the building she was there. She helped with that location and all that kind of stuff. And it's crazy, dude, that the guy was just leaping from he had a wire harness on him to say he wasn't going to fall. But when he hit that building on the other side and that ankle just flipped over and then he got up and still ran out of sight before they yelled cut, before he collapsed because his foot was dangling. Oh my God. I can't imagine what he went through. But dude, my hat's off to all the Mission Impossible movies. They just get better and better and better and better. Tom Cruise aside from the BS Scientology, love him or hate him, Tom is dedicated professional. Yeah, dude, Retro Scotty. Yeah. Oh, and Top Gun looks awesome. I can't wait for that. I'm glad they've waited to release it till maybe we can get this pandemic under control. I don't know if we can. Oh my God. Dude, guys, I'm going to tell you something. I have had my nostrils swabbed on the film productions. Dude, you have no idea the COVID protocols we're doing. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. COVID tests. I've had more COVID tests in the last 8 or 9 months than most people have had during the entire pandemic. I mean, it's just insane how much swabbing is going on in my nose. What do you think of Brad Bird? One of the few directors in the animation industry who jumped into live action. Pretty great directors. Yeah. I didn't see Tomorrowland. Was that the one with George Clooney? I didn't see that one. But yeah, no, I think when you look at Dave Filoni, someone had a question about Dave Filoni or something earlier, who started in animation and then has jumped over to live action. I think it gives you a sense of like how to learn your camera angles and what you want. Some of the best storyboard artists are great directors because they visually see things and can, map out shots. I think that's great. So yeah, I mean, people that transition like that, I mean, look at Dave Filoni and The Mandalorian. I mean, he got to learn from George Lucas, the best of the best. Well, look, George, he's an okay director. And I think if you look at THX 1138 or you look at the original Star Wars, it's okay. Ivan Kershner took Empire Strikes Back to a new level. Richard Marquand, took Jedi to a new level. And then, you look at all of the prequel trilogy films, they were all a little flat because, George has a certain style of directing and love him to death. But, you hear the joke slower or faster is all the direction he gives. Because again, he's like Clint Eastwood where he always, he says, you hire the right director, you hire the right actors. You don't need to direct them because they bring the performance. So yeah, I mean, when you've got Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor in a scene, I mean, do you really have to direct them? You do, but I can understand his perspective that, I brought the right people in to be in this movie and I don't have to really direct them other than speed up or slow down. I said that you look like Dave Filoni with that cowboy hat. Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, I don't know if I look like Dave Filoni. He's got curly hair. He's got really curly hair. I've got flat hair and kind of losing it a little bit in the back. It's thin. It's not gone. It's thin. Yeah. So yes, faster and more intense. Yeah, DMC. Exactly. That's the directing of George Lucas. Faster, more intense. I think he's a great creative guy. The Incredibles is the greatest superhero movie of all time. I like that. I actually own that on DVD, and I can't wait for my daughter, who's 21 months old, to get old enough to really watch that one. Right now she's into Moana, and she's into the Little Mermaid and those kind of things. But I think she's gonna like The Incredibles. I'm excited about that one. I don't want Filoni anywhere near Star Wars. Very unpopular opinion. Well, I saw a quote the other day from Leonard Nimoy that went viral. It was on Twitter. And it was something he had said when they had done the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film. And he had said, so many people, something to the effect of like nostalgia and their youth and all that kind of stuff. And he says, you should ask yourself, not why isn't this like how I remember, but where will Star Trek take me next? Because it's a continuing voyage, and that to be open to alternate timelines and different things and different visions and all that. And I'm not necessarily warming up to that when it comes to Star Wars, but I understand it, and I've gotten to the point where, as frustrated as I was with the sequel trilogy, the gems for me were Rogue One. I enjoyed Solo, a Star Wars story. I liked The Force Awakens, even though it was a soft reboot of the original film. It's Death Star, the trench, you got to take out the thing in order to blow up the thing. Han Solo was Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was the father figure that was killed and cut down, by the villain. And no one knew who the villain was, really. And no one knew it was his son and the whole nine yards. So it was a soft reboot. I get it. But I enjoyed The Force Awakens, and the rest of them kind of failed for me. But I have to realize that, like, I grew up in an amazing era with so many movies in the 80s, because I was born in 75. So by the time I was alert to films, when I was 5 years old and all that, that's when I saw Jaws for the first time, which it had come out in 75, and I saw it on TV at 5 years old. And that whole Spielberg era, and then going through everything with Bob Zemeckis and all the Back to the Futures and Raiders of the Lost Ark and all the movies that shaped me. I can look back on that, but I have to realize that, like, even the people like Star Wars Theory. You guys watch Star Wars Theory, his channel. I love him. But he grew up on the prequels. His first movie that he went to as a child was The Phantom Menace. And the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theater as a kid, because Star Wars came out in 77, I was 2, I saw Empire Strikes Back. Now, that was the first Star Wars film I saw when I was a kid. So, and watched Star Wars on TV. And then I went and saw Return of the Jedi in the movie theater. My father took me to see that. And so for me, it's like it's a generational thing. I have to be able to let go of all the new stuff, whether it's woke to this generation or the writing and all that, or I have to be able to take a step back and go, you know what? This stuff is maybe not necessarily made for me. And that's kind of how I've looked at a lot of this lately. 2 months ago, I unsubscribed from the channel that I used to love and called Midnight Edge. Just too much work nonsense. Yeah, you know what? I don't watch any of those channels. And I've had people that talk about the quartering, and I've never clicked on a video from the quartering. I had to actually, do a YouTube search for it, because I'd never heard of it. I love Dave Filoni. Star Wars feels more alive than ever since he made The Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Bad Batch. Hey, look, Filoni, dude, The Mandalorian's amazing. The Mandalorian's amazing. And I can't wait to see the Book of Boba Fett and everything that they've done with that. I think that you made a good point about the channels, Geeks and Gamers, Neurotic, Josiah. It was all negativities. But yeah, and you know what? I fell into the trap. I said it before. I didn't like The Last Jedi, and I was clamoring, searching for people that didn't like it like me to see if I could validate my point of view. And in many respects, I agree with a lot of what those channels had to say about The Last Jedi. Absolutely. But I didn't need 50 videos, negative videos about it to solidify my opinion. I don't need 50 hate videos on Brie Larson. You know, I don't need 50 hate videos on Kathleen Kennedy. Like, there were some missteps. There were some course corrections. And look what we got now. The Mandalorian. Look what we've got now. Book of Boba Fett coming out. Everyone's talking about the Bad Batch. They like that. I haven't watched it yet. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. Although the Star Wars franchise has been around for 40 years. When you get someone new at the helm, sometimes you're going to have missteps. And I just don't, I had to get away from the negativity, because every time I'd get online, all I'd be doing would be like, yeah, he's right. Fuck them. Fuck this. Fuck. And then I was thinking to myself, you know what? I've worked with a lot of people that work with Lucasfilms. And I met George Lucas on a movie and got to talk to him. Not at a convention or something like that. I'm watching him direct a scene. And in between takes, I was able to walk up to him and say, Mr. Lucas, can I have a minute of your time? And he was like, sure. And I said, hey, man, I just want to let you know that you're the reason I'm in this business. And I just really appreciate everything you did. And my childhood. And I was raised on your movies and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, thank you. And it was such a humbling experience. And to think that, like, I could be negative towards that gift that was given to me. And I'm like, but I felt the pain of, like, Mark Hamill when he was just constantly, it's Jake Skywalker. It's not my Skywalker. And it's yeah, it's right. It's not my Skywalker either. So it is what it is. The negativity had to stop. I just had to get all the negativity out of my life. And as soon as I cleared up all that, my YouTube feed changed. And honestly, like, when I get on, I'll watch a lot of other people's stuff. And I enjoy the YouTube experience now. But for a while there, I was just like, every time I'd get on, I'd be angry, and my point of views would be solidified, and, fuck this, and I'm so mad at the world, and they're ruining all my childhood. And then I just it's like looking at Knight Rider. I go back to that. I'll circle back to that. Knight Rider. It's really unwatchable. But as a kid, at 8 years old, 7 years old, dude, I love Knight Rider. And all I wanted to hear was the car talk and the car jump and hit the turbo boost. That's all I cared about. And, you grow up and then you realize it's not what it used to be. Same thing with, as much as I love Kevin Smith and all of his movies and the Masters of the Universe thing, I watched that first episode and I tapped out. It had nothing to do with woke writing or it becoming everyone kept saying the She-Ra series. It didn't grab me. It didn't grab me. And then I remembered, it's kind of like what Danny was saying earlier on the thread. It was basically a commercial to sell action figures, was He-Man. It's a 20-minute action commercial to sell plastic toys. That's why I liked it when I was a kid, because I had my Skeletor. Always liked the villains. I love Darth Vader. I love Skeletor. I like the bad guys, man. I've just always been that guy when it comes to that. Let's see. Yeah, all over the season 2 is constantly bending and backwards and ties the Clone Wars characters. Yeah, and I don't mind. And again, like when it comes to the Bad Batch, it's like, but I don't need every dotted and T crossed and connected. Fell into the trap of The Last Jedi as well. Yeah, I didn't like. I was a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah, yeah, man, I'm with you. That was the Luke Skywalker we all wanted. Yeah, Retro Scotty, absolutely. And I can't wait. August 25th is that behind the scenes making of the season finale, which I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. To see Mark Hamill and how they de-aged him. And yeah, there's some missteps with that with the CGI, but I thought, man, still my hair stood up on my arms. I had a lump in my throat. I didn't cry like Star Wars Theory did, but I understood the emotion he had. Absolutely. I'll be honest, I do like Star Trek more than Star Wars, but of course, I do enjoy Star Wars, and I have the bootleg theatrical cuts remastered. There you go, right there, dude. Widescreen edition, original trilogy. I have this. This is the VHSs, the unaltered VHS movies. I have the deluxe box set. I've had it for years, and I did get the a friend of mine downloaded the despecialized editions that were created, and they were awesome. Yeah, I love the unaltered movies, but again, like you kind of get used to. Like I got used to the special edition ones too. And as far as Star Trek goes, dude, I love Star Trek too, and I'm not as much as a crazy Star Trek fan. The first theatrical film of Star Trek that I saw in the theater was The Voyage Home, and I watched all of the Next Generation. That's really what I gravitated towards and grew up with. Obviously, I wasn't around in the 60s when the original trilogy came out, or the original cast came out, but I've liked what J.J. Abrams did with all of the Star Trek films, and all three of the ones that came out. I love them in their own ways. I don't mind alternate timelines because I wasn't invested in the original 60s series to be upset that the timeline was all out of whack and that they split off and did their own thing. But Star Trek's great for me because Star Wars is the space opera. It's a whole other thing on itself. But Star Trek is kind of grounded in reality because it's supposed to be 250 years in the future. So it's what we all hope, like especially around the Next Generation, what we all hope the 23rd century would be like, where we don't have money, and it's not a utopia, but everybody cares about everyone, and and then of course the new Star Trek kind of changed all that. The new stuff they've been doing for CBS All Access, which I have not seen any of it. I don't have CBS All Access, so I haven't seen any of the stuff that's been made since. Star Trek first Star Trek film was Star Trek 4, the Final Frontier in 1989, defunct General Cinema Corporation Theater. Never forgot that. Yeah, man, I saw that one in the theater too. Yeah, and going back to DMC, that was the preservation of the 35 millimeter prints. Yeah, that are the 4K 77. Yeah, dude, man, I'm so glad. I hope Disney finds it in their heart to hit these guys up and maybe buy all the hard work that they did and release those to the public. That would be great. But yeah, I did see Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, in the theaters as well in '89. I remember that one. But The Voyage Home was the one that always stuck with me, man, especially because of the whales. At one point, I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. Well, I'm a huge Jaws fan, and I love sharks, and I scuba dived, and I've done things like that, and I've always loved. And I live at the beach. I mean, well, I'm 10 minutes from the ocean. On the coast here, so we spend a lot of time on the water, and so yeah, The Voyage Home in theaters August 19th. Yeah, it is. They're re-releasing it in the theater, and I believe it is a 4K restoration print of The Voyage Home. Unfortunately, I am not going back to the cinema anytime soon. The COVID thing is just. It's starting to get out of control again, and I went and saw the last movie I went and saw was King Kong vs. Godzilla, or Godzilla vs. Kong, whatever it was, and I ended up not enjoying the movie too much because they had lifted some of the COVID restrictions. There were too many people around me. I was getting nervous. I've got a baby at home, so like I don't and I had COVID last July, and it put me in the hospital. And twice I was in the emergency room, and $12,000 in medical bills, and it was scary. I was sick for 21 days, and I've been fully vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine, and but I'm not ready to go back to cinema. I actually rented Black Widow off Disney Plus Premiere Access, because I did not enjoy the time watching King Kong versus Godzilla. I mean, I did, but I felt like I was always looking over my shoulder and worried about who was next to me. And I don't want to live in that kind of, I'll come back. I'm hoping Top Gun, as much as I want to see No Time to Die, the new James Bond film coming out soon, I don't think I'm going to go to the cinema to see it. I think I'm just going to wait. Top Gun would be the only movie I would go see, and Indiana Jones 5 are the two main movies in my future that I will definitely go to the cinema to see. But there's nothing else on the radar that's making me want to be like, I got to go to the movies. Shang-Chi, nothing in the new Phase 4 is making me like, oh my God, I got to go watch a Marvel movie in the theater. Nothing. I actually have an interview tomorrow with the environmental field inspector because of my bachelor's of science degree in geography and resource and environmental studies, minor in writing. Nice. I want to see the new Ghostbusters Afterlife movie so I can pretend, this 2016 doesn't exist. I agree with you with that. Did you see that the toys, Hasbro or whoever is putting out the toys for the new Ghostbusters, they movies could get delayed again? Yeah, I think the movies will get delayed again this fall. But they just put out the Ghostbusters Afterlife action figures, and it kind of spoiled the movie. So if you don't look at the internet, because there were several characters that I was like, yes. And so I'm really excited to see Ghostbusters Afterlife, but I don't think I'm going to go to the theater to see it. I think I'll wait. And that's unfortunate, but it's just like COVID's blowing up again in my area. And like right now, my local hospital, they've dedicated an entire floor to COVID, and there's over 60 plus people in the hospital right now. There's no more ICU beds. It's really bad. So I love the movie theater, but the next time I need some earplugs, they're too loud. Yeah, there's a great cinema in my area that I absolutely love. And it was literally built only a few years ago. So it's brand new, state of the art. They've got the Atmos sound, Atmos, where you've got, it's like, there's, I don't know how many speakers all around the ceiling, but it's insane. But you only want to watch big movies on that. The last big movie I saw in that theater was Bad Boys for Life, and then the pandemic hit. That was like the last movie I saw in the Atmos theater, and it had the PDX laser light projection. So like in a cinema, when you have one bulb that lights up the center of the screen, like towards the edge of the screen, it kind of gets darker in all the four corners. But the PDX digital laser projection, it's fully lit the entire screen, and it's gorgeous. If you haven't been to a PDX theater, go to a PDX theater with Atmos sound, and it's just, it's breathtaking. So yeah. Oh man, dude, I've been doing this for 2 hours. Still got 8 people watching this. You guys must be doing something in the background and just having me here. I hope it's been entertaining, guys. Seriously, like, I hope you've enjoyed having the discussions. I like being able to kind of share stories too of some of the experiences that I have working in the film industry, because there's so many cool things that we do on a daily basis. And the best part about working in the movie industry, especially if you're working in a you'll love Atmos sound. It's great. Is when you work in television and movies, like, every day is different. It's not like working on an assembly line or something like that. You come into work one day, depending on the movie. Hey, what are we doing today? Oh, we're blowing up a car. Oh, great. Or, the next day is, oh, they're doing a love scene. So it's a closed set. Nobody's going to be around. Everybody's got to go away. And it's just going to be the director and the camera people and then the naked people. And, so, every day is something different, new. It's challenging. And I enjoy working in the movie industry. So it's great to be able to share stories like, Michael Caine giving me the flu. and I've got plenty of stories too, and I'll just save stuff, and when they come up, depending on what we talk about, I can throw those things out there. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to watch the first episode of What If. That's on my agenda, and I'm trying to think of what else. If you guys haven't seen on Netflix, there's a great series on Netflix. I talked about this at the beginning of the live stream. There's a great series. Let me just see. I got to go back. What was it called? It's The Movies That Made Us. The new season is fantastic. Back to the Future, Pretty Woman, Jurassic Park, and Forrest Gump. They're under an hour a piece, and you gotta watch this show on Netflix if you have Netflix. The Movies That Made Us. Season 1 was really good, it's not refreshing. Computers. Oh yeah, definitely a level-headed individual, and Sharon, your work in film is based on a type of channel, something I want to interact with. That's great, man. I always love listening to your stories. I haven't seen your face in a while. I know, and I've got to do some. All right, I have another channel where I react to BTS videos, and believe it or not, man, dude, the production value that goes into the BTS videos is insane. Like if you're a film crew member and you're watching some of that stuff, it's amazing, guys. You got to roll over and check out my other channel too. I know I've got to do some reacting to some of those videos too as well. But yeah, man, I just happened to discover that. I had a friend of mine who said, "Hey, you need to check this out," and I did, and I was like, "What?" And then it snowballed. But everybody in the BTS army is super super nice. They've just been fantastic to me. So yeah, check out that other channel if you want to see some really cool production value, next level stuff. I mean, they don't even do music videos in this country like they do in Korea. One of the channels I really like interacting with is Peyton Place. She's an awesome gal, and even a mod on her channel. Oh, you are, and I'm glad I got away from the Phantom Menace. Peyton Place. I feel like I've stumbled across that channel, but I will double check and see if I'm subscribed. Somebody else might have recommended me. It might have been you. I don't know. But somebody else had recommended me to that. She used to be called Talk Nerdy to Me, with me. Yeah, I feel like I've checked out that channel. I think I'm subscribed to way too many. I gotta thin it out, dude. There's so many. You know what gets me lately? I know you guys are gonna laugh. These guys that they'll pressure wash stuff. Dude, I don't know how I get hooked into it. And then there's this guy in Australia who's got like 1 million followers, and he restores vintage Matchbox cars and Hot Wheels cars, strips them down to the bare paint and repaints them and makes them exactly mint. Like he'll find these beat up old cars, and I get sucked into him. I don't know, man. I don't know. You guys watch anything like that on YouTube? Like restoration videos and stuff like that? It's crazy what people will restore. She's not a fan of the Star Wars girl and is indifferent to Geeks and Gamers and Jesse Milestone. Yeah, I don't know who the Star Wars girl is. Everyone talks about her. I never. Peyton Place is also a 1950s movie. Yeah, absolutely heard of Peyton's Place. But yeah, I don't know who the Star Wars girl is. No. I am still subscribed to Drunk 3PO, and I do watch his stuff from time to time. Lately, he's been a little... have you heard of Reservation Dogs? Oh, no, Reservation Dogs. I watched the trailer for Reservation Dogs. Yeah, it's a new comedy. Taika Waititi is producing it, I think directing it. I just watched that trailer today at work. I was at work on the show, and I had my phone and I watched it. It came up in my Twitter feed, and I'm actually going to watch that. And then I realize it's a handheld shaky cam kind of documentary style show with a twist, and it brought back nightmares of the show that I had just worked on for Fox. And I was like, am I really going to like a shaky cam documentary style show? I don't know, but the characters looked interesting. Who's my favorite football team? Okay. All right. So I am a San Francisco 49er fan, and my wife is a Eagles fan, and she grew up like 40 minutes from Philadelphia. So she could not be any other fan other than an Eagles fan. My team has 5 Super Bowls. Her team has 1. She waited her whole lifetime to watch 1 Super Bowl win, and I watched all 5 growing up, starting with the first ones in the early 80s. So yeah, those are our teams: 49ers and Eagles. Who do you like? Let me know. I don't like how Jeremy has an ego and is kind of arrogant. You know what? I've given up trying to understand Jeremy. He does, apparently. I haven't seen it, but apparently he has a really like hardcore right-wing channel that has nothing to do with geeks and gamers, and some of the vitriol that he spits out's really rough. But to each his own. I don't know what his go Pats. Oh, dude, I got a friend of mine at work. He's one of the grip guys, and he's a huge Green Bay fan and can't stand Tom Brady. But I don't mind Tom Brady. See, because the 49ers won 5 Super Bowls, and we had the greatest quarterback of all time, Joe Montana. And Steve Young was another solid quarterback that got us some Super Bowls. Like, I can't take away the gift that Tom Brady has. Like, people hate the Patriots, they hate Tampa Bay, they hate Tom Brady. I don't hate that guy. Dude, he really is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And if you cannot like the Pats, and you cannot like Tampa Bay, and you cannot like him, but you can't deny the guy's talent. And I have a friend of mine who's really good friends with Gronk. And he's always posting pictures of him and Gronk on Facebook. As a producer that I worked with, Henry Penzi. He produced a movie that I did called that I worked on called Traded, where I actually acted in it. We shot it in Los Angeles, or outside of California, near Coachella in the desert, as a Western. And he was a producer on it. And Henry Penzi, they call him Henry the Hamster. And he was the inspiration for Turtle on Entourage. Henry Penzi's best friends with Mark Wahlberg, and good friends with Gronk and all those guys. And Henry's always posting pictures of him with Mark Wahlberg too. But yeah, Henry the Hamster is Turtle. He was the inspiration for Turtle on Entourage, because Entourage was all about Mark Wahlberg and his entourage. And so yeah, I got off on a tangent. But yes, Tom Brady is the GOAT. Although Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. So every Super Bowl Joe Montana went to, he won. And Tom Brady can't say he did that. So therefore, Joe Montana is the GOAT. Sorry. But Tom Brady is talented. Gronk is crazy, but a super nice guy. And I had a friend of mine, he's a director. I did a podcast with him, Tim Woodward Jr. You could see in the Spotlight with Sean O'Rourke. He directed a movie called The Call, but he also directed a movie, and Gronk jumped in and played a bad guy and shot somebody, and it was great. So you got Tim Woodward Jr. He's constantly knocking out movies. He just won an Emmy, several Emmys, and for his show. Great guy. Let's see, what do we got? A division of rival Philly. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys. I know. Yep. My wife hates the Cowboys. I don't really like the Cowboys either. Let's see. I watch Matchbox Restoration, pressure washing, slow-mo explosions and stuff, slow motion shooting stuff, power crushing items, first time reactors to old movies, speed up building restorations. Yeah, no, those are all really good. The power crushing stuff is good. The hydraulic press that just crushes everything. Yeah, dude, we must be subscribed to the same shit. This is great. First time reaction to old movies. I think I watched a couple of those, and then there was this one girl that was watching like Star Wars for the first time, and I watched the video and I just didn't buy it. So some of those because there's certain movies, it's like, how can you exist on a planet and have not seen that movie? It's like the other day, somebody on Facebook had said they had just watched Jaws for the first time. And I was like, you're like in your 40s. How could you not have seen Jaws in any way on Turner or whatever, TNT? It used to play all the time every summer on TNT. I don't know how people know. Detroit Lions. Wow. Man, I always root for the underdogs, and even like when the 49ers weren't doing well, and the year my wife's team, the Eagles, went to the Super Bowl, and that was the first Super Bowl she'd ever seen them win, I was an Eagles fan that season because the 49ers sucked. They were not doing well. And we already have 5 Super Bowls, so I support the wife. But I always like the underdogs, and I always hope the Detroit Lions can get somewhere. My condolences to the Detroit Lions fan. That's good. Oh my God, Darth Vader's Luke's father. Oh, yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, Detroit Lions. I wish them the best. You know what I don't like? You talk about the Texan fan. I don't like expansion teams. Like, I don't like the Carolina Panthers. I don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars. When they did that expansion that year and they launched all these different teams, I despise them all. I can't stand the expansion teams. None of them. I want them all to lose every year. I don't know why. I didn't like them when they all came into the league. Yeah, some of those are funny. Yeah. Yeah. Arizona Cardinals fan. There you go. Hey, what was was it the Cardinals? No, I'm thinking of something else. The Raiders had their stadium built, and somebody buried in the concrete of the building of the structure a Kansas City flag. So somewhere in the building, in the cement, they put a Kansas City flag as a jinx in the Raiders' new stadium, and I thought that was brilliant. Sorry, for a second I thought it was the Arizona Cardinals, but it wasn't. It was the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm looking forward to the new season. I didn't watch the preseason games yet. There was a Cowboys game. Sorry for the Cowboys fans that are out there. I wasn't going to watch that. It's preseason anyway. But we got to hope that there aren't any forfeits and stuff because of COVID this year. Man, it's crazy. Wow, what time is it? It's 12:04 and we're still going. 2 hours, 22 minutes. You guys okay? I still have 9 people watching this. And again, remember, I start working night shifts tomorrow. So I got to stay up as late as I can and then go to bed. And normally I'm in bed by like 8:30 because, God, I get up every morning about 3:45 in the morning in order to... So right now, as a crew member on the shows, I drive the camera truck. So I drive a 5-ton truck with about $500,000 worth of equipment on it. The particular truck I'm driving now, we've got 3 Airy digital cameras on it, $90,000 a piece, and that's stripped down. The lenses on these cameras, $40,000 a piece, these lenses, and all the other bells and whistles that go with it. So when the call time for a show is like 6 a.m., I have to be there an hour before call with my truck set up and ready to go for the camera people to take all the camera gear out and start shooting and setting up to do the television show or the movie that we're doing. And but I have to get my truck prior to that and get it to the destination we're filming at. So I'm working in the transportation department since 2012. Before that, I worked in locations. Before that, I worked in production. Before that, I worked in accounting on movie. I worked in accounting for Lionsgate. But yeah, so our call times are like 3 in the morning, 3:45 in the morning, and then we'll work a 12-hour day with the crew once they get there, and then when they leave, we wrap out and take all the gear and the equipment back to the movie studio and stuff like that. So our work days are 12, 13, 14, 15 hours. And so we're midweek and we have to shoot night stuff. So now this show is shooting night stuff on the beach, and it'll be late at night, and then of course some of the stuff we're doing is sun rising and people on the beach with the sun coming up, that kind of stuff. So you have to naturally be there. So you go in late at night and you're there all night long. And then, now this show that I'm working on, it's a young adult novel show. It's like Dawson's Creek on steroids. It's the Twilight. People are going to love this. There's no vampires in it, but it's that kind of clientele. The people that love those things are going to love this show that I'm doing. But I don't, it's based on a series of books, and the books are very popular. So there's a lot of beaches, a lot of things where the kids are doing stuff, and it is what it is. Wow, that's a nerve-wracking job driving around. Yeah, dude, 3 of them. I got 3 Aries sitting in the truck. 3 cameras, and we got all the Steadicam gear. Oh, dude, it's crazy. But it's great. Oh, what are we saying here about J.J. Watson, Deshaun Watson? They have maybe the playoff game. Yeah, Deshaun Watson. Didn't he come from Clemson? Wasn't he a Clemson? Wasn't he a Tiger before he got into the league? I can't remember. 10 out of 100 viewers. Your show is very welcomed. Have a good night. Oh, and good night, everyone. Yeah. The Rams will be interesting. Yep. So yeah, it is nerve-wracking to drive around with $500,000 worth of gear in your truck, and it's a big truck too. It's not small. I have a commercial driver's license. An actor who has a commercial driver's license. I mean, you got to have a backup plan. Although I don't really look at it as a backup plan because I'm working in the film industry. I work full-time in the film industry. I know Watson has a lot of lawsuits pending against him. Doesn't half the NFL players have lawsuits pending against them? I mean, come on. That's nothing new. Man, the profile on this hat's great, isn't it, guys? This is such an amazing hat. I got hat head, sorry. Got the logo on the bottom like that. I'm telling you, man, when the dust settles, we're going to find out that the guy who made this hat made all the hats for the new Indiana Jones film. So I'm excited about that. Still got 8 viewers. I'm trying to figure out what you guys are doing at the same time. You probably have other windows opened up on your computer. You're either playing games. What are you guys doing? You can't just be watching me ramble. Come on. Deshaun Watson is a 4th-string quarterback now. Oh, is he? What's your honest opinion of Mike Nolan as HC? From what I've heard, is awful. Do you concur? Oh, head coach. Oh, I don't know. The NFL is full of great members of society. Yeah, yes, they are. Indiana Jones. Yeah, okay. Oh, wait, that's a Green Bay symbol, too. Is that the Green Bay or is that Georgia? Klein, what do you got there? Your icon, your avatar. Is that Georgia? Or is that Green Bay? I just ate dinner and I'm listening to you. Annie, where are you at? If you just ate dinner, it's midnight here. This is my only open window. Wow. That's awesome. Dude, I really appreciate that. It's good stuff. Tired of the social justice pandering, though. Yes, I get it. We all are. I didn't freeze up. I'm just reading. In where? Where? Annie, where are you at? Oh, Arizona. Inez, Arizona. Okay. All right, so you're 3 hours behind. It's like 9 o'clock where you're at, right? Or it's like 10 o'clock where you're eating dinner at 10 o'clock at night? Oh, my God. Yep, only window. Oh, Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody. And I'm trying to think of. Wait. Meant to be the GB logo. Because I'm cheese. Okay. All right. Gotcha. He was our, just the last year. Boys and Lions, most stupid enough. Yeah. Defensive coordinator. Right. Okay. You ate a salad. Oh, the one thing that I'll tell you guys, if you've ever been, I am on the East Coast, Wilmington, North Carolina. Believe it or not, we have filmed over 350 movies in Wilmington, North Carolina, and over 12 television series since 1981. The first movie that was ever shot in this town was Firestarter with Drew Barrymore when she was like 7 years old or 8 years old. I had a fishbowl from Cabo. Oh, okay. That sounds good. We had mahi tuna for lunch on the movie today. They always have the best catering in the world. Oh my God. These movies, they feed you so much food throughout the whole day. I should literally weigh like 400 pounds, but I don't. I try to eat as healthy as I can. But it was a Asian day today, so they had stir fry and lo mein and tuna, tuna steaks, and everything was delicious. Everything was good. But yeah, Wilmington, North Carolina. We're currently filming 4 television shows here in town. 2 Netflix, 1 Amazon, and 1 for Fox Disney. It'll be on Fox and Hulu. Yes, North Carolina. You have family that live in Asheville. Oh, and Asheville's nice. I like Asheville. Asheville's a good place. But yeah, we're on the coast. They shot Dawson's Creek here. They shot One Tree Hill here. Warner Brothers does a lot of movies here. I've worked on a lot of Nicholas Sparks films. They filmed Iron Man 3 here in Wilmington. They were here they took up almost we have a studio here in town, Screen Gem Studios. They have 10 sound stages. When Iron Man 3 was here, they took up all 10 sound stages. I think it was all 10. And these are big sound stages. And they were here for 11 months, almost a full year, and they shot for 65 days Iron Man 3. And then they went off and shot some second unit in Miami and some footage in China and then Los Angeles. But the bulk of the entire film, they recreated here on Soundstage 10, Tony Stark's workshop, garage, the whole scene with all the suits, in the cases down below in the Malibu house, and the whole scene where the Malibu house broke apart and fell off into the ocean. They recreated all that there here in Wilmington. And I had a lot of friends that worked on when they were working on Iron Man 3, I was on We're the Millers, which is the Jason Sudeikis, Jennifer Aniston comedy. I was on that movie, and I interviewed for Iron Man 3, but I didn't get the job. But I got the job on We're the Millers. But the Tony Stark's Malibu house was all on gimbals, and it broke apart and everything, and things could slide and things could fall where they could but it was great. And everybody that worked on that was a monster. They said it was one of the biggest shows that had ever been here in Wilmington. And they just spent so much money. It was crazy. So yeah, Iron Man 3. It was a bad movie. And I think Shane Black had a lot to do with that. I think it was the writing on that one. And the fact that they kind of destroyed the Mandarin storyline was no good. Interact with a YouTuber who lives in North Carolina. His name is... Okay, I'll look him up. Yeah, Iron Man 3 was a disappointment. The ending battle sequence when all the drone suits show up at the docks. The docks are literally, where they load all the container ships and everything is literally an 8 or 9 minute drive from my house. I pass by it all the time. All I think about is Iron Man 3. It's like you drive by, you see the giant cranes, you're like, oh, Iron Man 3. But yeah, no, and Robert Downey Jr. is great. I happened to go to that. Robert Downey Jr. threw a half. They were halfway through production, about 30 something days in on the 65-day shoot, and he threw a halfway party, and he rented out a place called Courts and Sports, which is a outdoor volleyball courts, and they had cornhole and all this kind of stuff. And Robert Downey Jr. was there, and my good friend Sheila's son was little at the time when Iron Man 3 came out, and he got to take a picture with RDJ, and he was so good. And what was crazy was Krispy Kreme donuts are a big thing in Wilmington, North Carolina, and he made all the wait staff have trays of Krispy Kreme donuts and go around and, would you like a donut? Would you like a donut? And he was just so much fun, Robert Downey Jr., and was so good to all the cast and crew. It wasn't a prima donna. They put him up in a $5 million mansion on one of the islands here, right off the coast. And he was just super, super nice guy. So, everyone loved Robert Downey Jr. Shane Black's a decent director, but he really needs to prove his writing. Yeah. I didn't like The Predator. Oh God, that movie was terrible. Yeah, it was really bad. Shane Black, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with him. I mean, he keeps working, so somebody loves him. I thought the last movie Shane Black did that was worth anything was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I think that was the pinnacle of his writing. Who do you think wins this 21 NFL season? Oh, I have no idea, dude. Especially with COVID. You could have a team that's like ready to go and killing it, and then all of a sudden COVID's going to hit their team and they could forfeit. And yeah, I have no idea who's going to win the NFL season this year. I just no idea. Thoughts on Hawkeye show? I love Jeremy Renner, and I'm very interested to see where the show goes. I like the actress that's playing. Wasn't she the one that was in the Transformers movie, Bumblebee? So love her. I think it'll be good. So far, I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was a little heavy towards the end on the messaging, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. Still can't figure out how someone who doesn't have super soldier serum in him can do some of the things that Falcon can do in the suit. They got to explain a little bit more of that, because half the things he did I thought would have pulverized his bones and flesh to pieces, but he still managed to keep getting up. I haven't seen any of the new Marvel movies except Guardians 1 and 2. Planning on a big marathon soon. Whew, man, I'd love to. I was trying to talk my wife into doing all 23 films and doing a big marathon and doing them in order. There's an order you can watch them in. Go from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. The Last Jedi isn't even that bad after you're able to acknowledge the fact that it's the first Star Wars film to actually confront the hubris of the Jedi. Okay. I didn't have a problem with what they were trying to convey about the hubris of the Jedi. I had a problem with the treatment of Luke Skywalker. Okay? And that was my issue with the movie, that they killed him off and they shouldn't have killed him off. And that I think what bothered me the most was from a directing style with Rian Johnson. Look, no one can take away from the visual effects people. You could pause The Last Jedi at any point in the movie and it's beautiful. It looks like a painting. Every shot is just gorgeous. It was the story itself that I had some problems with, and the directing choices I had some problems with. Like, I think the fans would have been okay. I've said this before. If when Rey comes to him with the lightsaber and she holds it to him on Octo, and he takes it and he throws it over his shoulder. I mean, everybody was just like, I think the hardcore fans, the people that grew up with Luke Skywalker, just knew that something was wrong. And if he really wanted to convey that, Rian Johnson, he was basically telling the audience, screw you, I'm throwing out what you know and I'm doing my own thing. I get that. I understand that from a directing standpoint, but it was the wrong choice. He could have conveyed that same message if when she held out the lightsaber to him, he looked down at it and just walked past her away, leaving her holding it in her hand to watch him walk away. That would have told you right then and there, something's off, Luke's upset or whatever, and then the events could have unfolded. But the comical throwing it Three Stooges style over the shoulder, throwing the baby out with the bathwater is where I feel like it hit the fans wrong. It was a choice. I think it was a bad choice. He could have conveyed the same message a different way, and not upset the fan base the way he did. And I think the movie as a whole is beautiful and well shot, but a slow moving car chase in space. It's basically a car chase in space running out of fuel. I mean, when in any of the other Star Wars films has there ever been an issue with fuel? It just didn't add up. The hyperspace Haldo maneuver was beautiful. It was great how all the sound stopped as it blew through, but then it leaves open the question, why didn't they do that with the first Death Star? You could have taken any X-Wing or any of the calamari ships and just boom right through the Death Star. And there was no need for a trench run, there was no need for any of that stuff, and so like a lot of what his writing did had problems with the writing. And when you set the kind of rules of the galaxy of Star Wars over so many films, the rules are set. You start altering those rules and it doesn't make things make sense. I get the hubris thing. I get that like the Jedi were arrogant, whatever, however you want to do that, fine. I could live with that. Yeah, so that was a problem for me. And not to mention Kylo was Luke's creation, whereas Vader wasn't. Vader equals father in German. Right. Get that. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Okay, sorry, got that. If Luke thought the Jedi Order was crap, he would have just changed it. Yes, I feel like he would have always been. And here's the thing. You got a guy that lived and breathed, Luke Skywalker, for his sister, to save his sister, take care of his sister, love his sister, and then all of a sudden this guy's gonna abandon his sister and let her kind of fight the galaxy on her own, and he goes hides on an island. Some of it just didn't make sense. Expanded the Jedi, yeah. Plus, yeah. Again, like I didn't mind a lot of The Last Jedi except how they treated Luke. That was my big issue. Amen for the visual appealing. Yeah, it was great. The tone was just off. Johnson just doesn't understand the tone of Star Wars and the comedic style. There's always been comedy in Star Wars, whether that be C-3PO has always been a foil for some comic relief, but it was never as over the top as the stuff that was in The Last Jedi. Especially with John Boyega's character walking around with the thing with the water squirting out of it when he first meets Poe, wakes up from his coma. I mean, it was just disjointing. Yeah, I mean, space bombers, I loved those ships dropping the bombs out, but it defied the physics of Star Wars. Like when you drop something in space, it drifts off. And that's, if you go back to the prequels, you go back to anything, when something is, even debris, when something's blown up in space, everything starts to spin out of control. And for some reason, you're going to have bombers, like World War II bombers that just drop bombs and they go in one, I don't know, like none of it made sense to me. I just couldn't, I loved Knives Out by Rian Johnson. I did not. And I'll tell you why I didn't like Knives Out. Once again, his subverting expectations. by the end, not even the end of the second act of the movie, we already know who the killer was. It was revealed. So then you spend the third act plus part of the second act just kind of running around in circles, where if that movie was really done like a murder mystery in the writing, and yeah, he won an Oscar for the script. I couldn't believe it. But you would have followed a pattern of a whodunit where the Daniel Craig character would have, at the end, right at the end of the movie, unraveled everything and figured it all out and exposed it to everyone, just like in all the other murder mystery movies, and explained it to everyone. But instead, that happened in Act 2 halfway through, and then it left the rest of the movie just kind of floundering around. And again, he subverted expectations by not doing the obvious, but I think the movie would have worked better if he'd have held it and had Daniel Craig have this shining moment at the end where he, like Inspector Clouseau, if you remember those movies, the Pink Panther movies, just explained exactly how everything unfolded, and then everyone would have been like, oh, that's who killed him. I get it now. But again, he loves to do this thing, and there's a crazy video out there on YouTube that if you haven't seen it, you should really research it. It's a young Rian Johnson talking about how he loves to make basically polarizing movies, where he was like, my goal is to make the audience come out and have half the audience hate it and half the audience love it, and then they can debate that in the lexicon of the world or whatever. And I've never met a director in all the years I've made and worked on films. I've never met a director who wanted to make something that no one liked, that half the audience didn't like. Directors' main goal is to please the audience and to make something you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But I don't think a director's intention is to make something that people don't like. And I think that was the red herring for Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and everybody when they hired Rian Johnson. They should have found that video and realized he was going to do a polarizing movie on purpose, because he clearly states he wants to make movies like that. And I just think he was the wrong fit for Star Wars. That's all. His cinematographer was amazing. Costumes were amazing. Special effects were amazing. But I guess you're going to get the best of the best when it comes to Star Wars, and you're spending $200 million on a movie. He had all the right resources around him, but his script wasn't very good. There was no outline made for all the films that people could kind of follow. And then, it was a hack job, Rise of Skywalker, trying to repair a lot of the damage that was done and pay fan service to the fans because they upset the fans, and they were, the merchandise was down, people were not happy, and so then the last film became a conjointed mess. But Rian Johnson I didn't like Knives Out. I didn't. But I'm glad other people did. I mean, I'm glad people enjoyed it. Yeah, guys, you should really find that video of Rian Johnson literally saying he just wants to make a movie that polarizes a fan base. I can't believe Lucasfilm didn't look at that and go, oh shit, we need to run from this guy. This guy's he's not gonna work for us. But, the movie did $1.3 billion. You can't argue with money, although that was $750 million less than what The Force Awakens made. And just in comparison, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull made $789 million at the box office. So they left the amount of money of another Lucasfilm movie on the table, where that movie should have done $2 billion because it was going to introduce Luke Skywalker back to the Star Wars franchise, and it was left on such a cliffhanger. People should have been that, and where it didn't make that $700 million was repeat customers, because I saw The Force Awakens 7 times in the theater, because I saw it in IMAX, I saw it in the PDX, I saw anytime a friend of mine said they were going to go see it, I would see it, and my goal was, because it was the 7th film, I wanted to see it 7 times, and I was going to see the 8th film 8 times, I was going to see the 9th film 9 times. but I saw The Last Jedi twice in the theater. The second time was to see if I was wrong. Like, what did I miss? How did I miss that this movie? Like, what? And I went back to see it a second time. But where that movie lost $700 million was repeat fans who would go back and see it multiple times, like I did The Force Awakens. And I don't think he'll ever direct another Star Wars film ever. I think they're done with him. You lose $700 million of potential money, you're not getting another shot. Yeah, I agree. Rian Johnson's a talented guy, wrong man for the job. But you know, I didn't like Looper. What's the other movie that he did prior to that? I mean, Looper was okay. It wasn't great. But, you know, there are moments in The Last Jedi that I like. You know, the Snoke battle, you know, with all the and that's the other thing, like the guards, the Padrorian guards or whatever they call it. See, that's the problem with these movies, okay? You remember, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know every ins and out detail of everything. When you watch some of the later movies, you just, character names, nothing like that. You don't remember things, and that shows you how well the audience, especially the fans, the material was conveyed. But a lot of times it's not. Like they, you know, it's like I always say, if you've ever seen RoboCop, you know, Clarence Boddicker's the villain, you know, that makes a super villain. Darth Vader, people don't forget that guy. Hans Gruber, people don't forget that guy, right? But then, you know, who was the villain in the last Die Hard film? Nobody remembers the guy's name. So bad film altogether. If you don't remember the bad guy, it's a bad movie. Period. I don't care. Sorry, you know. Lethal Weapon. You know, you had Gary Busey played what was the right, well, here I'm about to break my rule, but he had the bleach blonde hair, and what was his character's name? Oh, it's just because I'm getting sleepy. Praetorian Guard, yeah, the Praetorians. You know, I don't know. What does that even mean? At least with the Imperial Royal Guards, you can kind of figure that one out. But Praetorian Guards, like, what does that mean? You know, I don't know. And let me ask Klein, since you're the big fan of The Last Jedi, to me there was something off with Yoda's mouth, the puppet. The mouth didn't look like Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. The puppet mouth, it didn't look right. I think there was something wrong with it, the way they sculpted it and made it, and so that pulled me out of those scenes with and again the comedy, like Yoda's appearance in Empire Strikes Back had some comical moments, very comical moments, but what they did with him in The Last Jedi, page turners were they? You know, I mean, and then the kicking of the feet and all that. I don't know. It wasn't Yoda to me. They used the wrong cast for Yoda. Yeah, I don't think maybe they didn't have the Empire Strikes Back cast available. Hey, I'm going to head out. Have a good night. Hope to catch you. Yeah. Thanks, Retro Scotty. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's 12:35. I think I'm going to try to crash a little bit. Maybe get up tomorrow, do another video or something. Go back to sleep, and then I gotta do the night shooting for a couple of days, so I won't be around till next week, man. That was Yoda. Oh God, you're back, Lazy Nate. Go eat a hot chip. I'm about to end this thing. Thanks everyone who stuck around. Wow, 7 viewers after 2 hours and 53 minutes. You guys are crazy. Let me know in the comment section. You know, is there anything else you want me to talk about on the next one? Maybe we'll cover some current events. Maybe there's be some breaking news we can talk about. Glad they use a puppet, though. Yeah, I was glad they used a puppet. Absolutely. Yeah, Stuart Freeborn made the adjustments to the mouth. Yeah, they actually sculpted that after his own face. All right, thanks for the stream, man. Very entertaining. Thanks, DMC. Thanks, everyone who checked out my live stream tonight. And again, I'm still learning how to do this thing, so we'll see you on the next one.